AITA for asking all the guests to leave after my brother and SIL's pregnancy announcement. My 28M, and my wife, Anna, 28F, were expecting. She was almost 3 months. We were really excited, we bought everything a baby needed, and talked a lot about our future with the baby. August 23, 2022, my wife woke me up in tears. She tossed her blanket off from her legs to show me a big patch of blood near her crotch, staining the sheets. We had a really hard time accepting the fact, but Anna was much more affected. She would cry in our bed for at least 4 hours every day, she wouldn't eat, and she would say awful things about herself and her useless body. I had tried to console her to the best of my abilities, but I was grief-stricken myself and couldn't say the right words to her. It took 4 months of therapy for us to gradually start feeling better. Anna was smiling more, she was still a little on edge, but she was doing good. January 14th was Anna's birthday and I wanted to make it really special for her. I invited our friends and family and cooked her favorite foods. I just wanted this day to be happy for her. For context, our families know about the situation and the effect it had on Anna, especially my brother and SIL, as we had stayed in their house for a bit. While everyone was eating the food, my brother and SIL got up and told everyone that SIL was pregnant. After 4 seconds of silence, everyone in the room started congratulating them. I was stunned and turned to my wife having an emotionless expression until she smiled slowly and congratulated them, and hugged them both. For a good 20 minutes, everyone couldn't stop talking about pregnancy, baby names, and new baby toys. They could have easily announced this at their 5-year anniversary party, which was just 2 weeks away. What was the point of announcing it on my wife's birthday? I noticed my wife get up and leave to go to our bedroom. I found her crying. She told me she doesn't want to go out now, that she doesn't want to face them. I understood and quickly headed to the table, where everyone was done eating, talking as if they hadn't noticed we'd left. I didn't want to make a big scene, so I told everyone kindly that me and Anna had some plans for the evening and that we would have to cut this party short. That was the only thing that came to mind at that moment. SIL comes walking towards me and starts yelling at me saying that I'm doing this because of her announcement. I tried telling her as calmly as possible that it wasn't like that and this was supposed to be Anna's birthday party, not some pregnancy announcement party. I said my goodbyes, then 2 hours later, I get a message from my brother saying I was selfish and that I shouldn't be jealous just because we won't be as careless as the two of you, careless as in implying that we had somehow caused the miscarriage even though we were incredibly careful. I'm beyond frustrated. Do you think IATA because of how I handled the situation? Top comment. Commenter 1. NTA. Announcing your pregnancy at someone else's party is incredibly selfish. Doing so at the party of someone who has recently miscarried is beyond evil. And as for your brother's carelessness comment, I think that's a clear case of fighting words. Commenter 2. You're beyond frustrated. That's it. I'd be enraged. Hell, I am enraged on your behalf and I don't know you. I'm not sure why you're tiptoeing with these assholes. NTA and I'd be laying into them. On what planet was that appropriate? Even if you guys hadn't lost a pregnancy, it's rude to make someone else's party about you. Just like you don't announce an engagement at someone's wedding. And his later remark about being careful. What the actual fuck? If one of my brothers pulled a stunt like that, they'd get an earful from me whether it was my party or not. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Hey OP, please send this message to your brother and SIL. I am not jealous, I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted you chose to make my wife's birthday about your pregnancy during such a horrible time in our lives. Your disregard for her feelings are evident, especially when you could have chosen to announce this at your 5-year anniversary, a day that was about you and not my wife. Furthermore, your insinuation that the miscarriage was in any way our fault because we were careless is truly horrific. 1 in 4 women miscarry, it's tragically common. While I would not wish this pain on my worst enemy, I worry for my nephew niece who is inevitably going to grow up with callous, selfish, derogatory assholes. NTA. Update. Hi everyone. Firstly, I want to thank everyone for their condolences and wishes. It means a lot to me. As I couldn't fit a lot of the details in the 3,000 character limit, I want to write all the answers to the questions and inquiries you guys have in this comment. Why I didn't confront my brother and SIL. I was fed up with them and wanted them out of the house so that I could comfortably console Anna and do another activity with her. We played some Minecraft and watched Harry Potter. I was angry, but I really didn't want to add more fuel to the fire. I just ignored most of what they were saying and showed them out the door so that I could handle them, talk to them after her birthday. 2. Why would my brother and SIL try to sabotage her birthday? I have no idea. I wouldn't say we were on bad terms with them, but we weren't close. We, and other relatives, stayed at their house for a week, because they had invited us for the holidays. There was a bit of attention to Anna and me, but it was minimal, only condolences, and I can't grasp how they could be jealous of the condolences we received for our miscarriage. How can that be something to be jealous of, unless they really love attention? Anna has said that she's only been nice to SIL and they hadn't had any type of argument. 3. Why didn't the other guests intervene? Again, I have no idea. no one tried to redirect the conversation, and honestly, every time I tried to, it would be glossed over and then turned into something baby-related again. Maybe everyone was excited or just nervous to change the topic. 4. Why did I post this on Aita if I was, clearly, not TA? I had been unsure whether it was rash of me to abruptly end the party or to not give much importance to their pregnancy announcement, but now I am. My brother is very different from me, and we have had disagreements, but they weren't fights, only opposite opinions shared. I don't understand why he intended to hurt us that way. I guess an update would be that I've finally replied to my brother's message with a statement you fairly 016 posted in the comments, which I'm very thankful for, with a few of my personal inputs in it, and he only replied with a laughing emoji. People were wondering whether Anna saw the message he sent or not. She did see it, and she was as heartbroken as I was. We had tried every precaution, we did everything we could think of, and getting blamed for losing our child by my own brother was like a knife to the heart. We talked about it and we have decided to have no contact with my brother and SIL until they apologize sincerely, and even then I really don't think I'd even want to sit at the same table as them again. I have sent a screenshot of his message to my parents and they are disgusted by my brother's behavior but don't want to confront him since SIL is pregnant. IDK. Some people are saying that it's already been 5 months, and we could just move on, but you don't understand how excited we were, and you don't understand how traumatizing that night was. Even now during her period she gets a lot of anxiety about it because it reminds her of that night. We are continuing therapy, it is helping and we are doing well. I will update if there are any. Thank you so much for your love and support. Stories number 2. Aita for telling my dad I never wanted his wife at my appointments and I tolerated it because I had no choice. My parents got divorced 5 years ago and my dad got remarried 2 years ago. I, 16F, think his wife is fine but it's not like she's my mom or my favorite person and I don't see us getting any closer over the years because she can be a bit much at times. I have a medical condition that requires checkups every 6 months and sometimes I needs tests if something's off and a change in treatment if it's needed. When my dad first got remarried he insisted his wife should be there as well. Mom didn't want her there and they fought over it. I told Dad I didn't want her there either but he claimed I was parroting my mom and I loved and needed his wife there. He told me it was okay and he'd make sure she was there and when I went to tell him again he cut me off and said it was fine and he'd handle it. She's been to every appointment since and whenever I'm asked if I want to speak to the doctor without my parents there I ask for it to be just me and Mom. My dad was confused about why and his wife cried the first time and gets all mopey the other times. Dad has asked me why I wanted just Mom there but he never let me answer. The other day my parents were fighting about Dad's wife attending these appointments and Dad said his wife was important and she deserved to be there. My mom told Dad his wife was nothing and had no business going anywhere near the appointments. Dad told Mom he would take her parenting time away if he could for that attitude and he was pissed the whole way back to his house. I told him I wouldn't let him take me away from Mom and he said he was pissed off that she was denying my and his wife's connection and the fact I wanted her there. That's when I snapped and told him I never wanted her there. I told him that back then. And I tolerate her being there. I said she's not important to me. She's not needed. That she's more like a big baby when she cries or mopes after I asked to have the two of them leave the room and I told him I do that because she's there and I never wanted her intruding like that. My dad was literally stunned into silence for a day and a half and when he talked to me he told me the things I said were cruel and unfair to his wife who did nothing to me. Stories number 3. I think my husband is having an affair with his stepsister. Just what the title says. I believe my 24F husband, 24M, and his stepsister, 23F, are having an affair. My head is spinning and I don't know what to do. My husband's parents got divorced when he was 15 and his dad remarried when he was 17. His stepmom has one daughter, let's call her Jess, who was 16 at the time of the marriage. They all lived together for about a year and a half before he left for college, which is where him and I met freshman year. Our sophomore year Jess began going to the same school as us, he introduced her to our friend group and she quickly became a part of it. They always seemed more like friends than siblings because obviously their parents didn't marry till they were older, but they'd sometimes refer to each other as bro and sis. Back then I sometimes got the vibe that she was flirting with him, but he never returned it and I just brushed it off as her personality and that I was being crazy. BC no way that would happen. Fast forward to now, we all still live in our hometown and see each other pretty often. Jess is single and hasn't had a boyfriend in several years, her and my husband are still very close. When we are all hanging out together, including their parents, if we're sitting on the couch she will sit right up against him, sometimes even put her head on his shoulder if he's showing her videos on his phone. I have always found it odd but again have brushed it off. Of course they aren't actually related but it would still be too taboo and weird, so I've never fully let myself have the suspicions. However over the last 6 months things have been getting weirder. Both my husband and I's birthdays are in April and only a week apart, so over the last couple years we've kind of just combined them and celebrated both at the same time. We had friends and family over, and normally we also receive joint gifts, but this year Jess got my husband something specific to him, fairly expensive gaming headphones and a watch, but nothing for me, and she also got him a card and wrote a decent amount in it. I didn't get to read it when we were opening things, and then later on I couldn't find it. When I asked my husband where it was, he brushed it off, saying oh, he must have accidentally thrown it out with its envelope, but the envelope was still with everything else on the counter. They've been texting a lot more and she's also been talking to me less. Remember, her and I have been friends for the last 5 years. Sometimes I'll see texts from her pop up on his phone screen and there will be emojis. This will be while he's holding it and he'll unlock it pretty fast, so I've never really been able to see what they say. If I ask her to meet up or hang out with just me, she's always busy. But if it's her coming over our home to see the both of us, she never says no. He also has been going to see her more often, which is kind of a complicated detail. BC, she still lives at home with her mom and his dad, so he just tells me he's going to hang out with his dad for a bit, but I have a feeling it's for her. Him and I have also been less intimate lately. Neither of us have ever had super high sex drives, but we have always averaged at least twice a week, and now it's about 2 to 3 times a month. What's pushed me over the edge is when we all got together this past July 4th. We were at my FIL's house for a big cookout pool party. While in the pool, she kept hanging on him from behind. Picture him giving her a piggyback ride in the water, splashing him, being overly playful, etc. I kept thinking in my head I was crazy, because maybe after all these years they really do have a sibling-like dynamic and she's just messing around. But I also caught her staring at me when my husband and I were being close and she looked angry. Now, cut to the worst of it all. We all were done in the pool and went inside to change. I was with my husband in his room, and right in the middle of us changing she came in without knocking, randomly asking if she could borrow my hairbrush. My husband didn't have any clothes on. I was horrified and said something like OMG, you need to knock first. She seemed unfazed and lazily covered her eyes, saying oh whatever, he's basically like my brother. My husband seemed kind of embarrassed, but also not as much as you'd expect. She left like it was nothing. Since then she has barely spoken to me at all, and I am absolutely spiraling at the thought of this. Am I being crazy? I haven't said anything to him yet about this because I'm so scared to be wrong, and then I'm just accusing him of sleeping with his stepsister. I need others to tell me if they agree with what I've been seeing or not. Small update, thank you to everyone who has responded. When I made this post I was hoping for validation of my worries, but also scared of that at the same time. I'm trying to keep it together and act normal around him the best I can. Tomorrow he's going over his dad's, so he says, so I plan to show up there and see what's going on. Another slight update because I know you guys are invested. An update but not really. Yes, I did go to his dad's house Saturday. A lot has happened since then and I haven't been on my phone much. When I get time later tonight I will post a full update of what's gone on. I will most likely make a new post about it because it's been hard keeping up with the comments on this one. Bear with me as I get my head sorted out. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Have they always been more touchy-feely with each other, sitting close on the couch, playing in the pool, etc., or has this all started recently too? If they are up to something, she isn't trying at all to hide it, which is crazy to me. Unless they both think it's so outlandish that no one would really expect it. I honestly think you could be right, but maybe only partially. It sounds to me like she has a thing for him and is becoming more brazen about it, possibly leading herself up to making a move on him, but I don't think everything you've said also leads to him cheating on you. All these years has he ever been weird toward her in return? Maybe he's just oblivious to how strange she's acting because he doesn't think that way toward her at all. But no, you aren't crazy. Her, or both of them, aren't acting right. Reply. They've always been kind of playful with each other, which is why I said even back in college I sometimes got the feeling she was flirting with him, but the physical closeness was never really a thing, not frequently anyway, until about 6 months ago. I've thought this too, that maybe it's one-sided on her end, but him going over the house more often and us not having sex as much has me really worried that it's a mutual thing. Commenter 1. Yeah, that's definitely strange that he's going to his dad's more often. Have you ever verified that when he goes, the parents are even actually home? Maybe next time he says he's heading over there you could, A. Ask to come to B. Follow him there, C. Wait about an hour and then call or text your FIL saying you want to talk to your husband but your texts to him won't deliver, or something like that, and see if he confirms they're together. Reply. Thank you so much for this suggestion. He actually told me the other day he plans to go there this Saturday. I may do a combination of your B and C suggestions and follow him there to even see if his dad's car is in the driveway if anything weird is going on. If the car is missing I'll call my FIL and ask to talk to my husband. Commenter 2. Truthfully, I don't know any brother-sister duo that acts like that. I know siblings can be close, but not that close. Maybe try to investigate more before springing any accusations on your husband. Seems a little odd to me though. Yikes. Reply. This is what I haven't been sure of because I have siblings but 2 sisters, no brothers. Also with step-siblings I have no idea if it's a different dynamic especially since they didn't live together for very long since they were older. I definitely think I need to actually dig into this to see if I can find legitimate evidence but I'm honestly scared. Commenter 3. If I were in your shoes, I'd ask to look through his text messages. Together with him sitting right next to you, if he'd prefer. Don't explain why. You could offer for him to look through your texts at the same time, if he'd like to. He shouldn't have anything to hide, and he should hand it right over to you. He will have questions, and I'd suggest you answer them all honestly, but only after you see his texts. But, his reaction to the suggestion will tell you a lot. If he's angry or tries to say that you're crazy, something is up. If he disappears somewhere with his phone, he's deleting things before he shows you. Reply. I'm worried to do it this way because if their texts are totally innocent the first find nothing, I'll have to tell him why I wanted to see it and I'll seem nuts. He's got an iPhone and a MacBook where his texts are synced up, so I might try to get a hold of his MacBook and read them on my own first. He uses his laptop for work mostly though and has a password on it so I'll have to come up with some excuse about needing to borrow it. Commenter 4. You were with your husband in his room? You don't share a bedroom? Maybe that's why she thought it was fine to walk in. She figured you wouldn't be there. Reply. We were in his room at his dad's house during the party. I just call it that out of habit. At our own house we share a room of course. Commenter 5. So let me get this straight, you were at your in-law's house. Where she lives, yet she went into his room, without knocking, knowing you were both changing, asking to borrow your hairbrush? Instead of going into her own bedroom, and using her own hairbrush? Reply. Yes. Obviously my worry from this is she used it as an excuse to barge in. Commenter 6. Wow. I'm sorry you even have to think about that. Did you ask him why she didn't get you a birthday present? Also why didn't you call him out on the envelope thing? I would get to the bottom this quickly. Reply. I mentioned the gifts and said wow she really spoiled you, must be nice and he just kind of laughed and said yeah wow I was surprised. I didn't say anything about the envelope but I wish I did. This was at the start of some of the more obvious signs and I was feeling so confused nervous that I didn't want to push it. Commenter 7. That card is saved somewhere in your home in his office? In his closet? In his drawers? Business suitcase? In his tackle box? Somewhere he believes you won't be getting into. Usually I'd search everywhere while he's out under the guise of spring cleaning up the team. Remind me. 1 week. Reply. I have looked everywhere for the card. Believe me I've tried to find it. If it's hidden somewhere it's not in our house. Commenter 8. YTF did she ask for your hairbrush when this is the house she lives in? If this isn't fake, that should have been both of your immediate reactions. Reply. Her full statement was, hey can I borrow your hairbrush? I can't find mine. Unfortunately this is real. Commenter 9. Yeah something is off. Even if he's not having an affair with her I bet they've had sex before. Reply. Back when we were in college, one of our friends asked him about that not long after he introduced her to us. He seemed genuinely grossed out by the question and said no. At the time him and I were still just friends so I don't think he had a reason to lie about it. I do think something is going on but I don't think it stems that far back. I think my husband and his stepsister are having an affair. Update. Hey everyone. Sorry that it's been so long since I made my original post about this. If you haven't seen it you can find it on my profile. To say that our family has totally imploded since I last posted would be an understatement. So much has happened that I never expected or was prepared for so I apologize that I kind of ghosted all of you, but this has been really hard. Just an FYI, I'll be mentioning text messages a fair amount and it'll be paraphrasing. Leaving off from my last update, I did go to his dad's house that weekend that my husband told me he was going to see him. When I got there, only my husband's car was in the driveway. I wasn't sure what to do, if I should try calling his dad, calling my husband or what. I decided to just go in because I didn't want to play games. I walk in and hear his and Jess' voices coming from the kitchen and it sounded like they were yelling. Even now I couldn't tell you what they were saying, I was so full of adrenaline as I approached them it was like I was watching them on mute or something and not actually hearing what was happening. He spotted me and looked like a deer in the headlights, and all I could muster up was to say what's going on. I stared at them for a couple seconds and then my fight or flight kicked in. I'm very non-confrontational so my instinct was to turn around and run. He chased after me and pulled me into a guest room to talk. Again I asked what was going on, that he's been acting so weird and so has Jess, and point blank asked if he was cheating on me. He seemed shocked at the question but then out of nowhere started bawling his eyes out. I've never seen my husband cry before. He said that no he's not cheating but has something to tell me but couldn't do it there and needed to leave for us to go back to our house. At first I protested and said no, I needed to know right then and there, but he still was having a breakdown begging me, so I agreed. We left his car there and drove home together in mine, but I sat in silence the whole ride as he cried and was trying to collect himself. When we got home we sat in the living room and I once again asked him what the fuck was happening, and my patience had run thin. Then out came his word vomit. He told me that in college, our junior Jess sophomore year, after him and a bunch of our friends had gone to a party, we were dating by this time but I wasn't there that night, I'd come home for the weekend to hang out with family that was in town, and he got really drunk. Our guy friends kind of ditched him to go hook up, so Jess offered him to crash on her couch for the night. Our school had on-campus apartments and she had a single BC, she was an RA. He said he woke up at some point after that, with his pants down and her on top of him, having sex. He told me at the time he felt out of it and didn't really get what was happening, and that's all he remembers was waking up and feeling it, seeing her. He then woke up again a couple hours later and she was asleep in her own bed, so he left and went back to his own dorm. He never told anyone. It took him a long time to even fully understand what had happened, and he felt like he couldn't tell anybody because 1, he felt ashamed and embarrassed. 2, he didn't think anyone would believe him. 3, he didn't want to be known as the guy that slept with his stepsister. 4, he was afraid of losing me. And 5, he was worried about his dad, and if he found out that it could affect or ruin his new marriage, and that his dad is so happy with his stepmom. He told me he basically just acted like nothing happened, even around Jess when we all hung out together. He said him and her never spoke about it or said anything until a couple years later, when him and I got engaged after graduation. She sent him a text essentially saying she loved him and thought about that night all the time, and that why did their parents have to meet and get married, they could be together otherwise, etc. Essentially she is obsessed with him. Shamefully I will admit, when he first told me all of this I wasn't sure what to think or believe, until I saw their text messages. I questioned him, saying if this was the case, why are they always talking, why wouldn't he distance himself now that we're married and out of school? He told me it started up again with her, about 6 months ago, like I said on my original post, when him and I told our families that we decided we wanted to try for a baby. He had a screenshot of the text she sent him the next day ranting about how he shouldn't do this, marriages aren't permanent until a baby comes into the mix, there's still a chance for them to be honest with their family, and for him to leave me, she still loves him after all this time, etc. He replied saying he loved me and wanted to start a family with me, and that he didn't love her in that way, and he never wanted her to bring this up to him ever again. That's when her demeanor changed and she said if he didn't love her, why did he *ck her, and what would their family think, essentially blackmailing him. I read through as many of their texts as I could handle, and it was always her saying things like she was thinking about him, she wants to see him, she'd even send texts while we were all together telling him he looks good in that outfit. Sometimes he wouldn't reply, and others he'd be trying to have a normal convo steer it in a different direction, and sometimes just telling her to stop it. The days he's told me he's going to hang out with his dad, it's her begging him to go over there so she can see him, or she will tell her mom everything. So he'd agree to go, but he swears nothing has ever happened, that one of their parents would be there a majority of the time and it would just be all of them on the patio or in the living room. That day, he went there to tell her he was sick of it and couldn't do it anymore, she could tell people whatever she wants but he was done, and that's why they were yelling. I sat there taking it all in and honestly was speechless, as I did not expect any of this. I asked him about our sudden lack of intimacy, essentially only during my fertile window since we're trying for a baby but never any other time, and he said all of this being brought up for him mentally has made him shut down about sex. He was only doing it for me because I want a baby. That it's taken him so long to realize, come to terms with the fact that she assaulted him. And how this harassment. I cried, I felt betrayed by her, and then a heavy, deep empathy for him. I just hugged him and cried, and he cried too. I told him he really needs to tell his dad because we can no longer associate with her in any way, and how can we manage that when she lives with him? At first he said no, he couldn't because he's worried they won't believe him and also doesn't want to ruin his dad's life because how could the marriage with his stepmom survive this? I told him I don't have an answer for that, he has to trust that his dad will believe him, and I was also worried about her panicking after their argument and doing something crazy. He agreed to tell his dad and said he wanted to do it alone. The following weekend he met up with dad and told him everything, showed the texts to him, etc. His dad believed him and like me was caught off guard and speechless. This led to him telling his wife and saying he was kicking Jess out, however his wife did not believe it. She claims my husband must have edited the text somehow, actual texts in the message app that you can scroll through, and it's Jess' number attached to the contact. Jess freaked out, saying none of it was true and he was the one who'd been harassing her. That's when my husband threatened to take it all to the police for an order of protection against her if she did not tell the truth, and she finally admitted to everything in an insane meltdown. His stepmom is horrified, his dad doesn't know if he can get past her not believing my husband and accusing him. We are currently in this weird limbo phase of the whole family on edge. Jess is still living there, his dad has demanded she leave and has given her 2 weeks instead of kicking her out on the spot in an attempt to try and salvage the situation with his wife. My husband and I are having lots of talks, trying to regroup. We've put trying for a baby on hold as he seeks therapy for this. He still is considering going to the police for the harassment. My heart is broken for him and also trying to come to terms with the truth that Jess, who I've known for years, would do something like this. I was prepared to uncover an affair, but never this. I'm not sure if there will be any more updates after this, maybe if my husband decides to pursue legal action. I want to say thanks to everybody who pushed for me to dig into my suspicions, otherwise this could have gone even further. I don't like to think of what could have happened. I probably left things out, so if people have questions I'll try my best to reply to comments. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Oh wow. That's so intense. How are you doing with all of this? Way to be there for your husband. And also I'm glad that the truth came out. Reply. I'm really hurt and overwhelmed. Her and I were close friends for so long, so I'm really battling how she betrayed him, but me too. And I also feel guilty for having this back thought of feeling lied to by him, when I know this wasn't his fault. He was assaulted and essentially stalked by her, so I in no way blame him, just trying to shake the feeling and hoping it fades. Commenter 2. Hello, you should push your husband to go the legal route, this is messed up. Reply. I've told him that he should because she's unstable. It scares me because she seems so totally normal, like this is the biggest shock of my life, learning her true behavior. And someone like that is totally unpredictable. He knows he needs to but is trying to mentally prepare, and I'm trying to not push him too hard because this has been a lot. Commenter 3. Looking back I do see the signs of him being uncomfortable. There were a few times he seemed awkward or looked at me kind of weirdly, but I always assumed it was because of the PDA happening right in front of me and that he was embarrassed. Commenter 4. First of all, what she did is called rape, not assault. Second, he needs to get a restraining order ASAP. Third, he needs to peruse this legally and hard because she is a danger to all men, period. Reply. Yes, I know that's what it's called and what happened. I myself was in high school and I don't like using the word, it's very triggering to me. He's still considering taking legal action but I can't force him to. Stories number 4. Aita for yelling at a girl for constantly correcting my Chinese. Quick background, I was born and raised in the UK, but my parents are Chinese. I know how to speak Chinese since my parents' English isn't very good, but I don't know how to read or write it. I would like to say I'm pretty fluent, I am able to converse and understand others fine, and most Chinese people I knew outside of my family thought my Chinese was good or at least better than they expected for someone raised in the UK. I do occasionally make grammar or vocab mistakes when I'm talking about something in Chinese, but in a general conversation, others do get the gist of what I'm saying. Recently, my mum invited her friend and her daughter from China to stay at our house for a while, and I really don't like them. I speak in Chinese to accommodate them and even translate stuff for them, but whenever I make a mistake, they would double over laughing at me. I initially tried talking to my parents about it, but all they said was that they weren't exactly wrong since I did make a mistake. I wanted to confront them too, but my parents always stopped me and told me it would be rude and disrespectful to Mum's friend, and also how her daughter is just a kid. To clarify, her daughter is 19. I don't really see my mum's friend that often much since she spends time with my mum, but the daughter tags along with me a lot because we're the similar age. But I can't ever talk to her without her ridiculing me and laughing at my Chinese when the biggest issue is just saying the wrong word or something. She also started correcting me by yelling at me the proper word to say or the perfect pronunciation of a word if I ever slipped up. She laughs at the fact I can't read or write Chinese. And it just kept building up since my parents told me not to say anything, otherwise she might cry. I eventually lost it when she yelled at me condescendingly again because I mispronounced a word. I yelled back at her that my Chinese isn't perfect since I'm born and raised in the UK, and it's rude she does this whilst knowing that. She tried responding with something about how she was trying to help me, but I shut it down. Eventually she started crying and ran to her mum, which got me in trouble with my parents. To clarify, I don't mind if someone corrects me, but normally it's very non-intrusive in a conversation. With this girl, she stops the conversation to yell at me. My parents and obviously the friend and her daughter are upset, but my brother said she was rude and it was gonna happen sooner or later. My brother doesn't live with me, so currently everyone in the house is all awkward and standoffish to me, and it's been making me feel slightly guilty for yelling like that. Comments. Commenter 1. Speak to her in English. Girl is in the UK now, let's see how she gets along without you translating for her, shall we? Your guest could correct you without insulting or laughing at you, or politely ignore your little mistakes entirely. She isn't your teacher and you aren't her student. But yelling at you, condescendingly, this is not the way to get people to go out of their way to help you. Oh, hell no. And now she cries and runs to mama. Oh, boo-hoo. I roll my eyes. And NTA. Commenter 2, 100% agree that OP should only speak English around them. Translating for the parents is one thing, but dealing with condescending a-holes is not your responsibility NTA. Commenter 3, Nta the way she was correcting you was extremely rude. The least she could have done was politely let you know that you made a mistake. I agree with your brother, it was bound to happen sooner or later and honestly I think the way you responded was perfect, you gave her the same treatment she's been giving you, which she deserved. And I can't believe your parents are defending her by saying she's just a kid when she's 19. That's ridiculous. Reply, thank you for your thoughts, that just a kid defense is kinda baffling to me too. I didn't mention it in the original post since I didn't think it was that relevant, but the girl does this whole cute act. I don't really know how to describe it, she talks in a high-pitched voice and acts very childish in front of my parents, which may be where the kid thing came from. This is just an act though, since I've seen her talk normally to other people. Update. Hi, I just wanted to give an update on what has happened since. It's not a huge update so I'm just posting it here in case someone wanted to know what happened. The next day, following the advice of many commenters, I simply stopped speaking Chinese in the house. At first, the girl and her mum seemed to genuinely think I somehow forgot Chinese and didn't understand them. They found it funny whenever I just looked at them with a confused expression, but then it soon hit them what I was doing, and they clearly did not find it that funny from then on. I know it's petty but it made me smile. The mum barely spoke English, so she just gave up on talking to me or asking for help. The girl did learn English in school, so she tried speaking to me in English, though she was clearly uncomfortable about it. She wasn't that good either. I felt like correcting her like she did to me would be an move so I didn't do that, but instead I just pretended not to understand what she said if she made a mistake. She gave up after speaking some English and just spoke to me in Chinese asking why I was being so mean, and weren't we friends? She went to her mum again to complain, and then my parents were really upset with me, my mum especially because I guess she thought I was going to be best friends with this girl or something. My parents complained to my brother about it on the phone, and my brother told them off and picked me up to stay with him for a bit, at least until they left. I don't really know why my parents thought my brother would agree with them when he has been treated like that before too. For the rest of the days they stayed, they were apparently pretty miserable and didn't really enjoy the rest of their trip since I wasn't there to show them around the UK and translate for them, according to my parents anyway. My parents drove them to the airport and then stopped by my brother's and gave me a letter written by the girl before leaving. My brother wants me to stay longer with him. My parents said something about how the girl was so nice and sweet and still wanted to be my friend. I didn't really want the letter but I took it and opened it after my parents left. It was completely in Chinese besides her social media tag to keep in touch or something. I will not be finding out what it says anytime soon. Even without the language thing, the girl and her mum were pretty unpleasant and rude so I'm glad they've gone home. Thank you all for your comments, they definitely made me feel better and significantly less guilty, so I appreciate it. Comments. Commenter 1. Glad you stopped putting up with their treatment of you. All they had to do was sincerely apologize and be better, which they were incapable of doing. So glad your brother was able to rescue you out of that situation. Perhaps you could get someone else, not your parents, to translate the letter and if it's full of insults, give it to your parents to read about what that nice girl had to say. Stories number 5. Aita for not apologizing to my worker after she blanked me for 3 weeks over something I said. My coworker A is one of those types who never contributes to group projects. You all know the type, the one you have to carry through everything. So at our last team meeting we were dividing up what needs to be done, our manager assigns her a job and her response is, what? Me? To which I admittedly rather snarkily say, well, you have to do something. Didn't really mean to say it, it just popped out. I will admit this wasn't the nicest comment but 3 years of working with this kind of person grates so badly. For this, she has been acting like I don't exist for 3 weeks. By which I mean if I say something, total blank, try to hand something to her, she acts like I'm totally invisible, I might as well not exist. Today it got worse because she found out I went behind her back and redid her part for the project because the deadline is 2 days and it was actually unusably bad. For context we're in a team of 5 people and all of this is very obvious in our office. For the first few days, I gave her space assuming things would blow over and she would move past it. By the end of the 2nd week, I decided fuck it, I'm not breaking first because this is ridiculous. One of our other team confronted her on how she's acting and how she's making everyone uncomfortable by keeping this up because it's affecting the whole office. She told them she needs more time because apparently it hurt her so badly that I spoke angrily to her. Here's where I might be TA. Had she decided to approach me about it, I likely would have apologized but I have made no attempt to do so to her since I find this behavior completely insane. I've had many instances of being annoyed by her or someone else in our office, and I've been either able to talk my way through them or else just move on from it and get over it. And so I throw myself upon the judgment of the court. Aita. Stories number 6. My husband left me for my cousin, and it's one of the best things that ever happened to me. I was raised in a semi-traditional family, which means it's less, you'll dishonor embarrass us by not getting married, and more, you'll break your mother's heart if you're not married. So when I was introduced to my now ex-husband, who's a kind, smart, financially stable man, we got married right away. He was a wonderful husband, and I care about him very much. I think we made a good team for a while there, we earned the same, supported each other without none of us having to depend on the other, took care of chores and bonded as life partners. It changed when my husband met my cousin, let's call her Tina. For context, her mother, my mom's older sister, and mine had a bad history which I'd rather not share because it's family business, but they stopped talking when I was 20. However, my mother encouraged me and my siblings to get along with our cousins, as she didn't want the bad blood to get between us. My relationship with Tina is civil at best, though, as she became more like her family as she got older. We talked from time to time, and there was even a period where we talked on a daily basis, and I guess that was the time my husband and Tina interacted. I noticed the change in my husband, of course, he spent more time on his phone, and seemed more distracted when we're together. I accepted it as we getting used to each other, until he came and talked to me, guilt-ridden, depressed, that he had fallen for Tina, and thought it would be wrong to keep lying to me. Looking back, I think that was brave of him, I appreciate him the most for it. I wouldn't lie and said I felt nothing though, I was hurt. Maybe it's because I did come to love him during our time together, more than I expected, maybe it's because there's hidden resentment for Tina's family inside me that had subconsciously told me I lost. But another thing I feel is, relief. Freedom, almost. We had a peaceful divorce and I wished him the best. Tina and I did not talk after, but my family and I had some long, tearful conversations. My mother asked me how I could just let him go like that, my father wanted to beat my husband up, but in the end, we kept it in my family only. My sister was my rock during that time, she knew I never wanted the marriage, not willingly, and that this was essentially a way out for me. I feel freer than ever before after the divorce. I don't feel pressured to stay married or even date anymore, as my parents give me space and time to heal. I'm out living as myself again. Truly, wholly myself. Last I heard of my husband and Tina, they're still dating and seem pretty happy. P.S. One of the last things Tina's mother said to mine was, "You'll have to beg me for help one day." I think it's funny because it did come true somehow for the younger generation. Tina did help me, in a sense. Toast to you, cuz. Edit. Just wanted to add that he never cheated on me physically, i.e. they didn't sleep with each other behind my back before the divorce. As I mentioned, he talked to me about it very clearly and maturely. Someone in the comment, you bebabobbles, said that we got married for the wrong reasons. They were right. I am grateful for everything we've been through together and happy for him. I respect your opinion on what's counted as cheating. Stories number 7. Aita for not disclosing I had plastic surgery to my boyfriend. I, 26F, have been dating Max, 25M, for 4 months. When I was 22, I had a nose job as I broke my nose twice as a kid and it left it with a large bump. Then, at 23, I had a breast augmentation that bumped me up 2 cup sizes. These were lifelong insecurities that I was bullied over, and it was really relieving to get them done. On to the present, I met Max through a friend and things have been great. Last night, I was strolling through my social media while on the sofa with him. I stopped on an old classmate's vacation photo, where she wore a bikini and frankly, had very obvious implants. She looks great, happy for her. But you can tell. Max glanced over at that moment and said, gross. I asked him what the deal was, and he said women who get implants or other surgeries are a huge turnoff to most guys, and how men prefer natural over 2 balloons and how insecure she looks. I couldn't help but laugh and said, so you're turned off by me? He got very confused and asked what I meant. I informed him I had procedures done before. He kept denying it and saying I was joking until I showed him old photos of me. He got quiet and left shortly after. I got a text saying I should have disclosed this on the first date, how I led him on and that he needs to reconsider things. It's the next day. Haven't heard anything, I'm bewildered. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. NTA, you shouldn't have to disclose your medical history for someone to date you. Reply, that's what I thought. Even though it's mainly cosmetic history, clearly he liked how I look enough to start dating me, so what's the issue lol. Commenter 2. The issue is he now realizes he's a hypocrite. Commenter 2. Reminds me of all the men who share pictures of women with a full face of makeup that's beachy or natural, and then claim they only like women who wear no makeup. Commenter 3. NTA. You lucked out that he showed you this side at 4 months in. You could have been married before you found out he's this shallow misogynistic. Edit. Assuming women take most men's preference for natural breasts into consideration when deciding they would like breast augmentation is a misogynistic viewpoint. Or indeed that men's preference for anything should matter at all to a woman deciding on her own aesthetic. Edit 2. He was physically attracted to her. His dislike of cosmetic surgery has nothing to do with what he is physically attracted to. What about hair plugs? Is that mental health red flag? Reply. I agree, honestly even if he texts me again saying he's okay to continue, I really don't think I'm interested. Commenter 4. NTA. Not going to any second dates if he expects someone to disclose medical information on a first date. Are you telling me that he cannot tell after dating for 4 months? I assume that he has hands and have gotten past third base. Unless it was his first pair. Reply. He has had 4 girlfriends before me so I assume he has. I had a great surgeon though and everything does look very natural. I think he just had an expectation all implants look like solid circles strapped onto a chest and he can't fathom that's not the case. When asked by a deleted commenter if they've had sex and why she never told him. We had sex before, yeah, by looks they do look pretty natural, never had any partners ask otherwise. By touch, no clue, maybe the guys I've been with have no clue how an implant feels. I got nothing. I also didn't think that was a first date convo lol. Updates. Alright y'all, I got a text from him a few minutes ago asking to meet up, as he thinks he wants to continue the relationship and wants to talk things over. After all these comments and some thinking, I sent back along the lines of his reaction made me realize he's not the partner I'm looking for, and that I've decided to not continue our relationship. So yeah, I'm single now, kind of confused if I should mention this to future dates before we're official to weed out any more like him. How do you even bring this up? Oh well, I like me, I'm content with my natural and unnatural parts, and I'll find someone who doesn't have huge hang-ups on plastic surgery. Edit 2. I just woke up and there's no way I can reply to all the comments I got overnight, but thank you to everybody for your opinions and thank you to everyone who's wishing me well. I am sad, we had plenty of good times in those 4 months and I was hopeful about this one, but I'll be alright. Time for a few self-dates to cheer myself up, smiley face. Edit 3. He finally replied to my text. I was hopeful we could start over on an honest beginning, but I guess only one of us is mature enough to look past each other's shortcomings in the relationship. I'm glad you revealed this about yourself before I got too involved. Goodbye, good luck finding someone cause no real man would respect someone who can't even respect their own body. Wow, I was comfortable with my decision before but now I'm extra comfortable LMFAO. Blocked and by he never deserved this limited edition set. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. So I read this to my boyfriend, as I wanted a guy's perspective on this, and we had a good laugh at Max's expense. Sorry OP, not at yours, I know this is probably not a fun moment in time for you, but what an a-hole. As BF put it, yeah because that's the most pertinent information on a first date. Not, what are your interests or, what's your family like, but, tell me what bits of you are plastic. Good riddance to this dude and we hope you feel better real soon. Much love. Reply. I'm very, very relieved by the comments of men that are also bewildered at this. It gives me hope for my next dating adventure haha. Thanks for the well wishes. Stories number 8. Aita for calling my husband a disgrace after he said my miscarriage ruined his birthday. I miscarried yesterday afternoon about 12 p.m. I've never had a miscarriage before and this baby was so wished for so it's all so fresh and I'm sobbing right now so I apologize in advance if it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. My husband turned 27 yesterday. I 26F was pregnant with mine and my husband's 27M second child. Yesterday, I was 8 weeks pregnant. The day before yesterday we saw a beautiful heartbeat flicking on the screen and today I'm devastated. I was playing with our 2-year-old when I felt a pressure in my lower abdomen. Not long later, I noticed bleeding and I let my husband know immediately that I had discomfort and bleeding. Before long I had passed what I believe is the fetus and I messaged him, I think I lost the baby. I wanted to keep him updated and I guess I was seeking some kind of emotional support. I asked if he could come home and he said, of course, if it's urgent. I said I think it is because the pain and bleeding is getting worse and I'm starting to feel lightheaded and our 2-year-old is unattended in his playroom right now. We have no friends or family near that I could call who would get to us quicker than he could. I had to clean myself up, crawl downstairs to take paracetamol, make my son his lunch and then put him down for a nap. At this point my husband still isn't home. He was working approximate 30 minutes away and took closer to 60 minutes to get back. Hours later when I asked it was because he'd stopped at Tesco to pick up some beers. I ended up very poorly, losing lots of blood, lightheaded, vomiting etc. and he had to take me to A&E. By the time I was discharged it was almost 8 p.m. Last week, I had said I'd make him his favorite dinner for his birthday which he reminded me when we were almost home. I said I wasn't feeling up to it and that whatever takeaway he wants is on me. He said, for fuck's sake, under his breath and then muttered something along the lines of, this bullshit has ruined my birthday. He didn't stop to get any takeaway. He just drove straight home. He put our son to bed and I went to bed and I'm not sure what he did after. I didn't see him this morning as he had already left for work. He's not messaged me all day and he got home a few hours ago. It's now 8:40 p.m., and he's been giving me silent treatment. I tried to speak to him about an hour or so ago and he ignored me and I called him a disgrace. He slammed the bedroom door and locked me out of the bedroom. His mum has since messaged me and said I need to be patient as he's also had a loss. She didn't ask how I was or anything. He's obviously speaking to his mum, but why isn't he opening up and speaking to me? She said I was harsh. I'm feeling utterly emotionally neglected right now. My body has been through emotional and physical hell. I understand that my miscarriage came at a fucking inconvenient time for him as it was his birthday and all. I'm not sure if it's the hormones making me feel crazy, but is it nuts to contemplate divorce? Aita for calling him a disgrace. Some of comments from both comment sections. I clarifies, off topic, I am on annual leave, and return to work on Monday. I have already told a handful of my close co-workers that I am pregnant. I have no idea to navigate this. What is the best way to tell people that I am no longer pregnant? Do I just say? Do I wait for them to ask? I feel so stupid for telling people so soon, so I've put myself in this position. What's the least awkward way to address it so that there are absolutely no follow-up questions? I don't want to discuss it any more than I have to because I just keep breaking down. Thanks X. Commenter 1, you tell the person you are closest to spread the news for you. And tell them to make it clear you don't want to talk about it. Commenter 2, go to your doctor and get signed off. I haven't personally been in your situation but had a close friend who went through similar. Her doctor offered her 2 weeks initial certificate and more if she needed it. She ended up wanting to go back earlier but he said it was her choice. Definitely take some time to yourself. You have gone through a massive trauma and need time before you have to face work. As for your husband, you are definitely NTA. If I could, I'd use much stronger language than you did. Both he and his mother should be absolutely ashamed of themselves. I know you said you have no family close by, but is there anyone you and your son can go to stay with for a while who will give you the love and support you deserve? Reply, are you in the UK? I'm in England. My doctor's surgery is closed until Tuesday because of the bank holiday weekend. Do you know if OOHGPs are able to sign me off work? My work involves closely monitoring new members of staff, assessing them, and signing them off to work independently. I need to be able to focus completely as there is no room for error and be smiley and friendly. I don't think I'm able to do this right now, but I'm not sure how to get signed off as I'm back in work on Monday. I'm not sure if that makes sense. Top commenter, important, you are still at risk of infection at this juncture. It's still dangerous for you. Monitor your bleeding and temperature. Your marriage is over. How long you stay with him is up to you, but this man is neither husband nor father material. He cares more about his wants than your or your child's needs. It took a crisis like this to show who he really is. NTA, I'm so sorry you are going through all this. Reply, I also have tonsillitis at the moment, so I'm feeling really rough. How will I know if a fever is from that or the miscarriage? I currently have a low-grade fever at 37.9 degrees Celsius, around 100 F, but I'm not sure what it's due to. The bleeding is no longer heavy. Commenter 4, honey, have you got a doctor to consult? Best to ask them. I don't know how to tell the difference. I just know I wound up with an infection and emergency DNC a week after a miscarriage. The bleeding didn't slow for me, plus a slight fever. I didn't expect to be sick later. Hugs. Reply, I spoke with my doctor yesterday and because of the bank holiday weekend I can't have a scan until Tuesday, to confirm everything has been passed. I spoke to a pharmacist today who said try home remedies because he doesn't think it's severe enough for antibiotics at this point, as he could only see 3 white spots on my tonsils. Commenter 5, I didn't mention anything about hearing a heartbeat. They don't listen to heartbeat through ultrasound here in England, they use Dopplers later on in the pregnancy. We saw the heartbeat flickering on the ultrasound after the technician smiled and pointed it out to us. By the sounds of things, you're lucky enough to have never been referred to EPAC for an early scan. I had a scan at 6 weeks and a scan at 8 weeks. You're kind of correct that the NHS do the first scan at 12 weeks, the dating scan. But unfortunately not everyone has fucking straightforward pregnancies. Don't pull apart my story and try to invalidate my fucking miscarriage. I apologize for being short, but I had no sleep last night and I'm in so much pain, then picked up my phone to see a comment that my story is probably fake because some sheltered person has had the pleasure of not attending EPAC. A few hours later, fever is currently 38.5 degrees Celsius, 101.3 F. I think I'm going to have to head to A&E for a peace of mind. Thank you guys for your advice. I'll try to respond to the comments in regard to my husband when I'm feeling better and have recovered. It's just been a hellish day and a half. Mini update in comments. I'm not sure how to do an update or if anyone will see this. I have left my husband. Me and my son are staying with family and are safe. I have another scan tomorrow morning to make sure I have passed everything successfully. Thank you to everyone who had reached out and offered advice, it's been really helpful. Plus I started antibiotics for my tonsillitis on Saturday and I'm already feeling much better. Update post. I should have clarified in my original post from last week that the way my husband responded was completely out of character for him. He's usually a caring and supportive man and is a good husband and father. The only incident where he's shown any kind of red flags was when I put together an accent chair. I used a screwdriver to attach the legs to the seat, and when he came home from work and saw that I'd done it myself, he jumped on it until it broke to show that I didn't do it properly and that I should have waited for him to come home. He'd been under lots of stress at work, so I asked him to go to therapy, which he did, instead of pulling the divorce card straight away. We have been together for 7 years in May and is the only partner I've ever known. My family all love him and have accepted him from day one. I also should have clarified, yes, I know he was an AH in the scenario, I wasn't questioning that. What I was questioning was whether I took it a step too far in calling him a disgrace. He's going through a lot at work at the moment. It was his birthday. I'd been messaging him and telling him that I'd miscarried his child and he had to leave work early, and then I called him a disgrace after he'd taken me to the hospital and was responding to the grief in his own way. I think the majority of people said I was NTA in this scenario, and due to his behavior that my insult was justified. Thank you to everyone who reached out, checked in, offered condolences and emotional support. I've read all my messages and tried to read most of the comments. Most of them have been very kind and useful and have helped a lot over the past few days. I had a scan yesterday which confirmed that everything has passed successfully. Some people may remember that I was very worried about retained tissue due to my fever over the weekend. Also, my tonsillitis has fully cleared up, so I'm feeling almost back to normal, physically. I left my husband. Me and my son are staying with family in a different part of the country, so we are safe and are managing. My husband did get very angry when I told him that I was leaving him. He tried to stop me from leaving with our son, put hands on me and threatened to end his life. My mom intervened and like I said, we are safe. I have some time off work now, so I will continue to take time to recover emotionally and plan my next steps. Thank you if you've read this far. I doubt there will be any more updates after this. Comments. Commenter, I'm glad you left him. But I am concerned you'll go back based on how this post is written. You are still speaking about him like he is a good husband and are justifying his behavior. Stop doing that. Make a therapy appointment for yourself. Reply, he's not here to defend himself, so I'm trying to make it as fair as possible from both sides so he's not made out to be a monster. I have a therapy session booked. I will not be returning to him as he's not someone that I want my son to grow up watching and witness that behavior thinking it's normal. Commenter, I'm not going to lie, I had no idea where this post was going. It seemed like you defended his behavior, then dropped the chair incident on us, then continued to defend him. By the last paragraph honestly felt like I had whiplash. Regardless, I'm happy you're away from him and are safe because he's definitely not a good person. Stressed or not, that's not how sane people conduct themselves. Please do not let him guilt you into going back to him. He's dangerous. Reply, sorry, I'd like to say that I'm feeling better emotionally, but I'm not. I've kind of just word vomited like it's a diary entry in a sense. I'm going to start journaling from now so that I'm not just rambling to a load of strangers, lol. Commenter, I am curious why people do stuff like breaking other people's things like that. I had made something I 3D printed and a coworker said, it looks flimsy, and then took it somewhere I couldn't see, and smashed it with a hammer. Like, it was beyond a reasonable thing that would ever happen. Like in that moment, she had a narcissistic demand that I somehow upstaged her, so she smashed my stuff out of jealousy. It baffles me. It was literally just like your husband did. Doing something intentionally beyond its normal use to begin with, to intentionally destroy it. I read your post twice, and I think your husband is having a mental breakdown from work and has developed narcissistic personality disorder, probably from the stress. Reply, I was thinking that maybe he was having some kind of mental breakdown and our miscarriage was the final straw. He said that when he stopped at Tesco to get some beers, it was for the both of us to we could drink our sorrows away. I was planning on getting him some help because he clearly needs it. He only acts insane when he's under immense pressure at work, genuinely. When he broke my chair, it was around the time of immense stress at work, but when he put his hands on me, he actually put his hands around my neck and was choking me, which is what is terrifying. I can't look at him the same, so I can't be the one to get him the help. I'm looking into full custody and solicitors so that I never have to see him again. Update post. Hi, I'm not sure if anyone remembers but I posted on this app for the first time a while back after I had a miscarriage and my husband said I ruined his birthday. I need to start this off by asking that if anyone takes the time to comment, please do not leave negativity or insults as I'm extremely emotionally vulnerable and I truly feel terrible. When I updated about 5 weeks ago, I didn't think I'd have to make another update but in short, I'd left my husband and he'd forcibly tried to keep me in the house by putting his hands around my neck. It was really frightening and in that moment made me feel completely confident in my decision to leave. Since that day, I haven't had any contact with my husband. As I was leaving, he was screaming that he'd kill himself if I left. It's not the first time he's threatened this in our relationship but I called his mom once I was in the car to let her know. She said she'd go over to see him and I didn't hear from her for another week or so. About 2 weeks ago, my husband was found dead in our family home. I'm angry, hurt, devastated, relieved and most of all guilty. I feel so guilty that he's dead. If I hadn't have left, I'm certain he'd still be alive. But I can't be certain that I would be, or that our son would be. I don't know. I don't know how much sense I'm making. I just know that there were some people worried for mine and my son's safety. Please be kind, please reach out to loved ones or local services if you're struggling. Stories number 9. My boyfriend admitted he orchestrated our meet cute. I have no idea how I feel about what he told me. I want to think it's cute that he cared this much, but it's just coming off as creepy and I feel lied to. He got drunk because we were celebrating my first successful day at my clinicals and he ended up saying something along the lines of, "Could you believe we wouldn't be this happy if I hadn't watched you for so long?" To which I was confused and didn't know what he meant. Well, I had worked at a local library for 2 years, before we met, during college and apparently he saw me there but didn't actually talk to me. He just would watch me and listen in on my conversations with the people I was checking and my coworkers out to figure out what I liked. Then he apparently followed me and found the coffee shop I frequented. All this time I thought we had a sweet first-time meeting story. He accidentally bumped into me, apologized, and offered to buy me coffee for the trouble. He told me what he was ordering and it was the exact same thing I always get and I thought it was an amazing coincidence. I joked that it was fate and we spent like an hour talking over coffee. I feel so stupid. Apparently it was similar to a scene in a book that I had read and told my coworker I had thought was cute. I'm just so frustrated, like why would you do this? And how much of our 1.5-year relationship is a lie? Update 2. Hey everyone, I know a lot you have been worried about me and I just wanted to let all of you know that I'm safe. Shit has definitely hit the fan, but at the moment I'm safe. First, no, I didn't make that last update. My boyfriend went on my phone while I was showering and trying to figure out what I wanted to say to him about everything and he found and edited my post. He then started yelling at me while I was still in the shower about sharing it online and calling him creepy. At the same time he was guilt-tripping me and telling me that it was romantic and he did it because he loved me. He literally read a few of the comments out loud to me. He barely let me out of the shower but I did manage to get my clothes on while he was screaming at me. What really freaked me out was that he started listing off things that he could have done to me. I won't list them here because it was extremely gruesome and I don't think it's allowed, but he said that he didn't do those things because he's such a nice guy. The way he described the things he could have done though made me feel like he had genuinely considered doing it. Also, I thought he was only watching me for a few months, apparently it was upwards of a year and it was genuine actual stalking. He had followed me home and to my college campus. He pulled out a collection of my lost hair ties that he kept. I told him that he was scaring me and that we needed to take a break and come back to it later. At that he put a hole in the wall next to my head. I told him that I was leaving after that because fuck that shit and it was like a switch flipped and he started crying. He got on his knees and begged me to stay and apologized. I ended up accepting his apology because I didn't feel safe leaving. Yesterday morning after he'd left for work I grabbed all my important documents and irreplaceable things before my clinical started and kept them in my car. After my clinical I didn't go back to the apartment. I'm not going to give much more detail than that because he does know my account obviously. And for Andrew, if you're reading this, which we both know you are, please just leave me alone. The person I thought I loved doesn't actually exist and that's heartbreaking. I no longer feel safe with you like I did before and I hate that. Please let's just move on from each other. Stories number 10. AIO that my friend cried at my engagement party and blames me. I have a friend of about 10 years, let's call her L, that I asked to help with my wedding by being my day of coordinator. I'm a wedding planner myself, I just need someone I can trust to pull off the timing. She is a wedding planner in NYC for high-end clients so I know just how skilled she is firsthand. She was thrilled to work with me. For about 8 months, we met for coffee and chatted every so often to catch her up on my plans. It felt like an absolutely perfect fit. Fast forward to my engagement party. My MOH hosted the party and my bridesmaids put it all together. It was a beautiful masterpiece and could not have been any better. It was magical. Until about 1 hour before the end. All of a sudden my friend Elle is in tears. She informs me that she remembered that today was the anniversary of a really traumatic event in her life and she was having a panic attack. I was so concerned for her and I wanted her to have her privacy and know that I was there for her. I sat with her after my MOH consoled her and we hugged and cried together as I talked her through it. She said she wanted to rejoin the group but ultimately ended up leaving after going to the bathroom without saying anything to anyone. We sent her some texts but knew she would need some time and space before she replied. The next morning, I wake up to a voicemail from Elle saying that she'll no longer be my coordinator because she felt unsupported and betrayed while she was going through a crisis. She felt the party shouldn't have continued and we should have focused on cheering her up as a group. She also felt unthanked for planning my party. I was pretty shocked. Not only by her accusations, but my bridesmaids planned my party and my MOH was the host. Am I missing something here? I apologized to her and told her I really thought I had tried my best to comfort her and help but that really was not good enough to her and sounded like excuses. I can't stop thinking about how I just feel like I have whiplash about this whole thing. It was supposed to be, and was at first, one of our happiest days leading up to our wedding, but the hours and days following it have just felt like a dark cloud. Now we are 6 months AE from the wedding with a lot of loose ends and a bruised heart. Am I overreacting? TLDR. My friend and wedding coordinator had a panic attack at my engagement party and was upset that the party didn't stop and that we didn't comfort her the way she needed. She won't be my coordinator anymore now. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. A high-end wedding planner should know that the wedding festivities go on despite their own feelings. Trying to hijack your attention from your own engagement party reeks of deeper issues. If you feel she deserves one good conversation and maybe a chance, it seems reasonable, given her previous reputation. However, if you think separation would ease any anxiety, you would be well justified. Reply, thank you, I appreciate you saying that. I guess I just feel guilty for resting on, it's my party, in a sense, but maybe I'm boiling it down too much. I didn't try to convince her to stay because I would be destroyed if something like this happened again on my wedding night. As much as I hate to say it. Edit, and you make a really great point about her professionalism. Commenter 2, Nor. Do you think maybe she's a bit jealous that someone else threw an event that you loved so much? That it's her bag and somehow she resents that the party went well and directing those emotions towards you? You did nothing wrong and it would have been wrong and insanely awkward for everyone else to stop the party because she was upset. A rational person would have taken themselves away from the party or even home if they were that distressed. Reply, wow, I hadn't considered that she was jealous for that reason, but you could be right. She had said a few things that seemed off to me, like they were compliments, but somehow she wasn't happy about it for me and I didn't know what to make of it. Thanks for saying so. I tried to put myself in her shoes, and felt sympathy for her, but had trouble reconciling with her conclusions. Do you think it's worth being honest with her in any capacity? What I mean is, at our last convo she needed an apology and to express herself and achieved those things. But I was blindsided, so I can't say I did a good job defending myself or knowing I needed to. Commenter 3, I'm sorry. After what I'm assuming was over a period of time worth of discussions about the engagement party, and just friend-to-friend conversations because that's what friends do, since she didn't plan or host it, how did it take until 1 hour before it ended for her to remember the anniversary of a tragic event? I'll admit, I have some events that happened in my life that I consider to be tragic, but I'm still a little shaky on the dates. I may not remember the exact date, but I know the time frame. Or I might be consumed by life and not actually realize that today is that date. But she had to have known the date of the engagement party and had talked about it on more than one occasion. How did she never remember an event that was so tragic to the point of having a panic attack was approaching? Let's just say that's what happened. Why are you expected to end your celebration to cater to her? You and others took the time out to step aside and console her. You gave her time and privacy to gather herself. She decided she couldn't handle it and left, without notice. How is that your fault? Did she really expect you to tell you guessed the party was over because she suddenly remembered a tragic event that you seem to be unaware of, I could be wrong, during a 10-year friendship span? I don't mean to sound harsh, but if she didn't need or expect your support for this anniversary every year, why were you expected to put your life on hold for it that day? I would like to think that if you'd known about it, you wouldn't have had it on that day, or at the very least told her you would understand that she couldn't make it. But how are you to do this in consideration of something that happened in her life that she didn't even remember herself? Reply, I think there's a lot to be said for not realizing what day it is, so I won't sit here and speculate that. But one thing I will say is that throughout the past 4 months that the party was being planned, she never once mentioned it when I told her the date, sent her the invitation, and we made plans for her to come to town surrounding the date. Her goal was to attend the party and also make a weekend out of wedding planning before and afterwards. About 3 days prior to the party, she did tell me a story about this traumatic event, but I had no context for how long ago it happened or that I should know this weekend was going to be an important date in that story. I felt oblivious to the small details I ended up being held responsible for. I'll be honest and say that I wouldn't move my party if it was already planned, but I would understand if she couldn't come. OOP clarifies details on if she was planning to pay L for doing the wedding planning. Reply: thank you, and yes, just to clarify, I was going to cover her costs for travel, gas, lodging, etc. as it pertains to the wedding coordinating. So since I won't be incurring any of those, I guess a thank you note will do it. And yes, I think that you're right that I can't possibly have her at my wedding. She wasn't even on my radar of people to worry about, and I don't need to knowingly add one, that's for sure. I don't doubt that something like this would definitely happen. I offered to pay, she insisted it be a gift, I insisted I at least cover her expenses. Plus, she is the day of coordinator. I am planning the entire wedding, down to decor and the agenda. She would execute organization, schedule, and directing staff. So you think I deserve to have this happen because she insisted on gifting her services? And I'm curious what you think I could have done differently. Update: my ex-wedding coordinator, after apparent deliberation in the past few weeks, is saying she realizes now how selfish she had been and how poorly she treated me at and surrounding the party. I feel like my MOH must have said something to her. I only know what I've been able to gather from her 45-second voicemails that she's been leaving me before they cut her off. She seems to be sincere in wanting to apologize face to face, and that's okay I guess, but I'm just struggling with whether or not it's even right for me to be friends with someone like this, even if they're not invited to the wedding and don't live near me. And how do you be friends with someone you wouldn't invite to your wedding, not because the guest list is full, but no matter how long or short the guest list was? I haven't heard her out yet, but she's asking for some form of communication with me. I don't even think I'm willing to have a conversation with her to take her apology, but would probably prefer her to write it to me instead, whether that be email, text, or if she prefers handwriting. I just don't want to be caught in a torrent of rebuttals and buts tacked on to the end of what was supposed to be an apology to me. I'm terrified of getting baited into a conversation where I feel yet again cornered and bullied because she turns it around on me somewhere. My head is a little spinny. Help. Second update: thank you to everyone that read the posts before commenting, and thank you for your words of encouragement. Just to clarify, I never received any apology in the voicemail she left, so whether or not I speak to her again, I don't consider it apology accepted. She's not forgiven. Also, she was never going to be my wedding coordinator after the day she tried to withdraw. There is no changing that. I am an experienced event planner and have learned that when a vendor lets you down big the first time, you let them go forever. It wasn't going to be that way with our friendship until all of this went down. I let her know that I did receive her voicemails but don't wish to speak to her and have nothing left to say outside of what my MOH likely said to her, from all the crying I did to her while I was processing all of this. I let her know a few more things I felt she should know and that she can write to me, but I won't be responding as if it's a back and forth. This isn't up for debate. I'll update here again if when she writes. Third update for anyone that was interested: I got an email from Elle today and she was too pissed off at me for unfollowing her on social media, so she told me that she didn't have time for my bullshit. It was as short as that, really. So there's nothing left to do or say, and maybe I won't forgive her, but I'll do my best to forget about it. Thanks to everyone that commented and was invested. Each of you gave me a little support. Relevant comments. Commenter 1: it sounds like you're not really interested in being friends with her. Totally fair, and I'd feel the same tbh. If it was me, I'd probably text and say, hey, I got your messages, I'm not in a place where I want to be talking to you right now and just want to focus on wedding planning and events. That you appreciate the apology and maybe you'll reach out after the wedding. That's probably what I would do. If her apology is genuine, she'll quit bugging you after that. But it sounds like she's got main character syndrome in spades, so she might put up a fuss. Then you can say you're not looking for drama right now, and if she doesn't leave you alone, you'll have to block her until after the wedding. Reply: you're right, I'm not anymore. I think at first I felt like it was just another lost friendship. Because I've had to draw these lines in the sand before with friends who were the kind who are always down on their luck, but always making decisions to get themselves there. When things would go sideways between us, I would always feel guilty, even if I was the one with the grievance. I wasn't emotionally mature enough to understand that someone can be mad at you but it doesn't mean you did anything wrong. I was never able to tell before. Now, it just takes me a while to come around. It's a little easier, so thank you for your feedback, and everyone's here, even if I didn't respond personally. OOP needs to make sure Elle can't get into the venue on the wedding day. Reply: she lives hundreds of miles away. I think I'm good. Commenter 2, you said this so perfectly. I'm terrified of getting baited into a conversation where I feel yet again cornered and bullied because she turns it around on me somewhere. This does not sound like a person you trust anymore. Nor would most people, I'm guessing, not that I know most people. If you have to walk on eggshells, if you know she is not really attuned to you except to figure out where she can make the conversation about her, if she bullies you, then there's not much friendship to be found any longer. I think you're on the right track to say that you're only comfortable with written exchanges right now. Right now is vague, possibly stretching to forever. You already know that she misrepresents things. You already know that she badgers you. Let her write it down, because then she has a chance to be more thoughtful, and you have a chance to hand the unread letter to your lovely MIL and ask her to read it and just give you the gist. After that, you write back briefly to say, thank you, for whatever you want to thank her for, wedding-wise, thank her for the apology if you want, you can just say, I appreciate, and say, after or before the above, this obviously has come between us, and that's sad, but it's for the best that we part ways here, or whatever you want, fairly soupy, if you want, even obviously insincere, if you want. You're just ending things politely. Reply, this was definitely one of the top comments on this post. Thank you. I am avoiding saying things like, I appreciate, because I am sugarcoating nothing at this point, but I have been cordial. Waiting on my apology to decide if my mind is made up fully. Stories number 11. Aita for not feeding my daughter. So, my high school senior just turned 18, time flies, and is soon to be an independent college student. She has always been mature and tempered, so what happened is something I did not expect. Her father and I are now trying to get her as independent as possible in these few upcoming months before she leaves home, like any parent would want. The big controversy came a few days ago when we were talking about her graduation over dinner. I made the terribly inconsiderate comment that her graduation dinner will be the last free meal she can expect under this roof. She would not be allowed to grab our leftovers either. Instantly came the cries and yelling, as she accused me of starving my child. First of all, we are not kicking her out, we simply ask that she take care of her own meals. She would be almost closer to 19 by her graduation. I do not see how allowing her to be independent is abusive. I told her that she has multiple months to look for a quick job opportunity, learn a few basic recipes, and be prepared. I would be more than happy to help her cook, I just won't be doing it for her. In fact, this is a valuable skill she will need for her whole life. She asked me to write this up on this forum so the internet can show you you're wrong. Again, I'm treating her like an adult, as she is one now. Update, there are way more comments than I thought there would be. I'm taking a break off this website for a little bit while I figure things out. There have been convincing points made. Update 2, we've talked reasonably for a while now and have met somewhere in the middle. My daughter went as far as to make a little PowerPoint and had a friend on FaceTime. Though I do not agree with everything said on here, I did see that my original plan was too harsh. Update, Aita for not feeding my daughter. A lot has happened since the last post, some good some bad. As I wrote in the original as a comment, my daughter and I did outline a deal that met in the middle of our desires, which I'll detail shortly. First of all, there have been way too many attacks on me as a mother. I understand the extremeness of the situation, but that is no way to judge a parent in her entirety. I can assuredly say that we both love each other, and I have her best interests at heart. Many of you made the point that I should have taught my daughter kitchen skills earlier, pointing the finger at my past. As few of you understood, I was 100% willing to spend the next 5 months doing just that. Why not earlier? Before 12 I did not want her in the kitchen for safety reasons. After that, she never really initiated any interest. After all, she didn't need to. Some of you went as far as to call her spoiled and entitled for having her parents make her meals. She was in no way irresponsible or overly dependent and was successful in both school and her activities. Cooking was just not a priority then. Why then did I flip the switch just now? It was truly out of care, or so I thought. I believed a 5-month notice would be plenty to get her up and going, but it caused even more trouble. I've seen parents evicting their child at 18, something I would never do. I do concede that my statement about the leftovers was harsh. Frankly, that night my emotions were getting to me, and I regret stating it as I did. I just wanted to make sure she didn't perceive it as a fake or weak threat, though I went too far. So, what is the conclusion? Well, as you read, she wanted me to post again to show that she won. I apologized sincerely for my statements, and she did forgive me. Our plan is now largely the same. She will cook alongside me until her graduation, as I teach her, until she prepares graduation dinner by herself, her idea. She doesn't hate cooking, she just wants to learn, without the threat of starvation. There will be no final meal, but I do expect her to be much more involved in the kitchen. Top comment. Before 12 I did not want her in the kitchen for safety reasons. My oldest has been making things in the kitchen since she was 6. She's now 10 and she's responsible for cooking one meal a week. We pay for ingredients and help with cleaning up, but it's on her to find a recipe and manage her time. You've not addressed the biggest issue, which is that you thought that this will be the last free meal you receive under this roof was an appropriate or useful thing to say to your own child. Although your comment history suggests that it's just silly rage bait. Stories number 12. To fool my wife's birthday present. So, let me preface this by saying that my wife is not a gamer. But I managed to get her into Animal Crossing and she's put 130 hours in over the last year. I've never played it myself, but she has a great time so we're all happy. Cut to today where I am in possession of a shiny new Switch 2. I thought it would be nice to give her my old Switch and buy her a copy of Animal Crossing for her birthday. So I transferred all my data off and initialized the old Switch and waited. Well, when she booted up her very own copy on her very own Switch and was prompted to start a new island. Weird. I poked around for a bit as the horrifying realization dawned on me, her island didn't transfer. Turns out you need to do a manual backup and I didn't know that. So now her island is gone and she is devastated that I nuked 130 hours of her life. Happy birthday. TLDR I didn't realize Animal Crossing needed a manual backup and deleted my wife's island for her birthday. Comments. Commenter 1. You need to give her your brand new Switch 2 for her birthday now. It's only fair. Also, if she put 130 hours into Animal Crossing, she's a gamer. Now, if she played AC on your old console on your account, there's a chance that the save is still on your account if you had any saves on the cloud. So download AC onto the new Switch 2, log into your account and see if the save is there, and if it is pass that new Switch 2 over to her for her birthday. You can figure out downloading the save when you've recovered it. Commenter 2. Thanks for giving actual advice for recovering the save file. The new owner of the used Switch deserves any chance for that save game back. Commenter 3. Happy birthday, here's our used shit. Also I deleted your stuff. Either rage bait or genuinely a brain-dead person. Sweet_redhead 13. My ex was this stupid, I assure you. It's possible. Update. So yesterday I posted how I had fucked up by deleting my wife's Animal Crossing island in a failed transfer. She was very sad, but I promised her I'd start my own island and play with her so she wouldn't have to rebuild herself. When I went to start my own island, Tom Nook told me he had some old save data he didn't know what to do with. Turns out it was my wife's island. I went in on her account, enabled backup and let it do its thing. The backup saved overnight and she was able to log into her island this morning with everything still intact. Not much more to share really. Thanks to everyone who was wishing me well and gave advice on how to recover it. TLDR I was able to recover my wife's deleted island and her and my BF are visiting each other's island right now. Comments. Commenter 1. Good, now go buy her an actual birthday present. Reply, she really enjoyed the necklace and giant plushie I got her. I didn't fuck up that part so I didn't mention it. Commenter 2. You should have mentioned that in the update my guy. Commenter 3. Today I unfucked up. Stories number 13. My partner 40M of 11 years blames me 35F for him taking almost 10 years to add himself to his daughter's birth certificate. And he still hasn't added himself to this day. Backstory. My mother was very manipulative during the birth of our daughter. She got to me while I was drugged up after the birth to not add my daughter's dad to the birth certificate by telling me since we weren't married, that he wouldn't be put on the certificate BC he would need to do a paternity test. At the time it made sense BC of the state I lived in and the laws around a father being on the BC, when he found out he wasn't happy at all. But it wasn't a deal breaker and he was just happy to have our healthy baby girl. I also have apologized multiple times and told him that he can start the process of adding himself any time. He just needs to take the paternity test. I have encouraged him for years now to get this taken care of. Every time it comes up, he just yells at me saying it's my fault he's not on there and refuses to take the paternity test. It came up again a few days ago and I ended up crying. It just breaks my heart. Is there a reason for him not wanting to do this after almost 10 years of our daughter's life? I have apologized so many times but he blames his refusal on me. I cannot do the paternity test for him and I feel like at this point I would have to pursue legal methods to make it happen involuntarily. I don't understand. Edit. I guess I should include this information. This is more about protecting legal rights in case something does happen to me. I have a blood disorder that has landed me in the hospital multiple times. If something were to happen to me I would like for him to have legal custody instead of my awful parents. He knows this and was even at the hospital during the time I had blood clots in both lungs. I just want my kid to be with her dad if I have a stroke or worse. This is not about trust or anything like that. I was not trying to do anything nefarious while drugged up from pain medication while my mother was doing her bullshit. Stories number 14. Aita for refusing to wear body makeup for my friend's wedding. My friend has just gotten engaged, and has asked me to be her maid of honor. I am beyond thrilled for her and beyond touched she's asked me, but it's on the condition I wear body makeup over my psoriasis. I can't do that. Not only is it impractical, any makeup that will actually cover it will exacerbate the condition and make life miserable for me. To be clear, I have it well controlled, I am not flaky, the skin is simply very red. It covers 80% of one forearm, 20% on the other, both elbows, and I have large patches on my calves, knees, and 90% of the top of one foot. I use gentle manual exfoliation and a moisturizer that helps control the dry and excess skin. I apply the moisturizer a couple of times a day, and wouldn't be able to do this while wearing makeup. I let her know I wouldn't be able to do that, explained why, even though she knows I have to be careful with all products I use, and she is quite unhappy with me. She wants beautiful photographs that make everyone feel beautiful and confident, which really upset me. I am content and confident in my skin, I know it's there and people stare sometimes, but what can I do about that? Most people think I've had some kind of gnarly motorbike accident or something tbh. I'm at a point in my life where I honestly don't care and often forget that it's unusual to see. I know the reason is because she doesn't want to see it in her photos. I said as much to her and she was offended. I suggested that I wear something with long sleeves and skirt, but she's already has her heart set on midi-length strapless dresses, and a shawl covering won't go. It got to the point where she was getting heated because I won't do it and told me I either wore the body makeup or don't bother even coming. I ended up telling her either she has me as is or not at all and left. She is now not speaking to me, but has told her fiancé that I accepted the role. Sum of comments. Commenter. Info: why are you friends with this person? Reply: I've known her forever, we have a really great friendship usually and this hasn't ever been a problem before. When we have had little disagreements we've both been really understanding about it and those have been few and far between. I really don't understand this, it's so out of character for her. To another commenter, because she's usually a really kind and caring empathetic person, genuinely too, we've been through a lot together and have supported each other through some really messed up times. She's good fun, funny without making fun of people. She's just a good egg. Any disagreements or issues we've had have always been talked through with care and consideration on both sides and it's never felt unbalanced. This is truly really out of character for her. Commenter: NTA psoriasis can be so painful and debilitating during a flare-up and I'm assuming that since you were asked to be the MOH, she has known you and about your psoriasis control routine. You shouldn't have to sacrifice your skin's health for days or weeks after the wedding just to be there. You have even given her alternate options to help conceal your reddened skin for photos and she's not even considering them or your feelings' health. Reply: that's exactly it, it's taken so long to find a good combination of things that work and keep it stable, and she see me at my absolute worst with it and never said or done anything other than supportive about it. I really don't want to miss her wedding but I can't physically or mentally deal with how bad it's been before. Commenter: you are definitely NTA. As someone who also suffers from psoriasis, I'd like to suggest seeing a medical professional because manual exfoliation and applying moisturizer multiple times a day, which I know from personal experience is helpful. I also know, from personal experience, that there are so many prescription topicals, or not topicals, that treat psoriasis far better. A small amount of triamcinolone acetonide, a topical steroid, applied a few times a week keeps my psoriasis in check. It really doesn't sound like yours is well managed, but for this particular issue, I'd stick with, I can't commit to wearing makeup to cover up my skin, so if my skin is enough of a problem for you to exclude me from your wedding party, then so be it. Reply: thank you for the concern, a few comments have made me realize I probably need a new derm and a new approach. I have tried a few different steroid-based creams ointments but after time my skin would become quite thin and it would stay pink even still. I couldn't play rough with my dog because she'd break the skin even playing gently. I'm also really clumsy and would knock my elbows on doors walls and the skin would split. I have just been resigned to the redness and my current routine has been working. My current derm basically said my condition isn't serious enough for some meds and that others I can't use due to liver issues. Update. Firstly, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who commented. I honestly thought the majority would tell me to suck it up, it's just a few hours for one day, and was surprised by all the supportive comments, compromise suggestions and encouragement to seek further treatment for the sake of my health, not my appearance. I am definitely going to take my psoriasis more seriously due to some of you, so thank you. Also sorry to the mods, they had to lock comments because too many people were being rude. I also want to mention all the Photoshop editing comments. I feel stupid for not even considering it in the moment. It's such a simple and obvious solution. I was so shocked and taken aback by my friend's reaction and insistence it didn't even cross my mind. I spent the night bawling my eyes out because a lot of the comments made me feel I'd wasted nearly 30 years of friendship with this person, doubt a lot of it. I love her still, and was still so confused. I was going to call my friend tonight to discuss this again. I was truly touched she asked me to be MOH, she has such a close relationship with her sister that I never thought even once she would ask me. I didn't end up calling friend, as her fiancé called me, to thank me for accepting the role, to tell me secretly that his family wanted to pay for the bridal shower hen's night and anything else we wanted to do or go as he knows the people friend wanted as other bridesmaids weren't in a position to be able to contribute, and that his family would reimburse me any costs for body makeup, which did flag as odd to me. I told him that I hadn't accepted the role, and that friend had told me either I were the makeup or don't come at all. Fiancé was shocked and confused. I explained to him that even mild inflammation would cause days and weeks of irritation at best, or months of pain, cracked skin and possible infections at worst. He had no idea and was completely oblivious, and very confused. He's only really known me while my condition has been pretty decently controlled, and I tend to play it off as not so serious to people because I just don't want to talk about it. We finished our phone call, and after a couple of hours my friend calls me back. I can tell she's been crying and was quite upset. She apologized profusely, and it turns out that her future mother and sister-in-law had been picking away at her, making her feel awful about herself and how she needs to be perfect, presentable and beautiful on the day, that nothing can distract from her. They both had convinced her that she is especially kind in not worrying or caring about how I looked, but that everyone else is just lying to her about not caring. It's been going on for months, even before they knew of the engagement, little digs about me trying to turn my friend against me. Both MIL and SIL are apparently disgusted by my psoriasis to the point it makes them physically ill, face with rolling eyes, and that her entire wedding day will revolve around how I look and will make everyone miserable. That it's all anyone would speak about, and if I came no guest would be able to eat or enjoy themselves, that I was selfish for even considering going without hiding it. They didn't want me there at all, and were threatening my friend with not allowing the wedding at all. It was never about the photographs, it was about my condition being visible in general. I didn't really know what to say or do. It was a lot to process, and I do truly believe my friend is sorry. Like I said, this was so out of character for her. My friend's fiancé got on the phone once she'd finished explaining. He is going to speak to his family. He apparently had no idea that this was happening and is pissed for my friend, and on my behalf. I don't know what's happening with the wedding or wedding party, but my friend has said that she can't imagine her day without me there, and that she feels awful she allowed them to manipulate her that way. I don't know how I feel yet. I have emotional whiplash. I'm hurt and confused. My friend let them convince her to go through with this, but I do think and hope we can get through this. Oh hey. That's me. I just edited an update into the original post, but TLDR, friend wasn't behind the request but felt pressured into doing it and had momentary lapse of judgment. Her MILSIL have apparently been running an anti-Hobegov cheese campaign for months and months, and seriously adding to the stress since they learned of the upcoming engagement. I am still a bit hurt by my friend's choices but ultimately understand where she's coming from and believe her apology wholeheartedly. The positive to come out of this situation is that I am going to take my psoriasis a lot more seriously and will be finding a rheumatologist and a new dermatologist since mine apparently sucks real bad. Stories number 15. My niece, 18, wants me to design her wedding with a month and a half notice. I, 33, will be on vacation the weekend she picked to get married. I am facing a situation and not sure how to handle it. In April of this year my oldest niece Dawn, 30, announced that she and her boyfriend would be getting married September 5th of this year. My niece asked me to please handle all centerpieces and any decor for the wedding as well as being her maid of honor. I was thrilled and worked my ass off for 4 months. It was really hard work but I pulled it off and my niece was over the moon with how her wedding turned out. Dawn left all of them decor up to me, saying I could what I wanted, and thankfully, she and everyone else at the wedding loved it. At the reception, my youngest niece Leah, 18, decided that her oldest sister's wedding was the best time to tell everyone that she and her boyfriend are getting married on Halloween this year. I was busy and had heard her saying something but didn't really think about it again until this afternoon. Dawn called saying Leah had called her saying she had bought her wedding dress. Leah told Dawn that since Dawn makes cakes, she wants her to do her wedding cake and she loved what I did for Dawn's wedding so she wants me to do hers as well. While I'm glad to be the person she wants to decorate her wedding, this brings up a shitload of issues. Issue 1, 3 months ago my mother, 60, and I booked a trip for out of town the weekend Leah has picked for her wedding. Call me selfish but we have really been looking forward to this trip. Our lives have been kinda crazy and the time away is really needed. Issue 2, I paid for all the crap I needed to make the centerpieces and to decorate for Dawn's wedding. I told her it would be my husband's and I's wedding gift to her. I paid for everything so she could have really nice stuff that I knew she couldn't afford on her own, and Dawn was over the moon. At that time, I had the money to do it. 2 weeks before Dawn's wedding, I moved into a new house then got laid off the next day. So my money is tight, I have a family to help support. Leah told Dawn she has zero money for decorations and the cake, meaning she expects Dawn to make the wedding cake, pay for it and me pay for decor and centerpieces. With Dawn and myself just paying for Dawn's wedding, we are all tapped out. She is also expecting my parents to pay for the food since they just paid for the food at Dawn's wedding. Issue 3, Leah picked October 30th for the day of the wedding. We live in southern Indiana and weather in the Midwest this time of year can be either rain or even snow. The location of the wedding is at my parents' farm, outside. There is nowhere to go if it rains or anything, it's all 100% outside. So, I'm not going to lie, Leah is and always has been a huge asshole. She thinks just because she says, this is what I want, everyone should hop to. She can be really fucking difficult just because. Dawn asked Leah what kind of maid of honor dress she needed to look for and Lee's answer was, whatever. She wants her wedding cake to be Nightmare Before Christmas themed, said her wedding color is navy blue and doesn't have any thoughts about anything else. So she wants everyone to do everything and come up with it all on our own, and when dealing with Leah that means that, even though she purposely didn't say what she wanted, what you give her will not be good enough or right and she will throw a fit. It's the reasons I had to stop buying her anything for Christmas and her birthday, nothing was good enough and she'd freak, so no more gifts. So my question Reddit is, how do I go about talking about all of these issues with Leah? I can't do what she wants, none of us can. While I do want to do for her what I did for Dawn, I am just not in the place to do again this soon. If I could talk her into moving the wedding to December and having it at her dad's giant building, I could do what she wants, no one would be in the rain or snow and my mother and I won't be out of town. How do I tell her this without her turning it into me just trying to tell her what to do? TLDR, my niece's wedding plans are just flat out not going to work. How do I break it to her in a way that she will actually listen and not think I'm just telling her what to do? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. The wedding is at your parents' farm when your mother won't be there. Reply, yep. My niece didn't ask anybody anything, she just started telling everyone when she's getting married. I'm telling Leah Tuesday about the trip and everything I put in my post. I want her to actually listen and not think I'm just being a dick or don't care or something. Commenter 2. Maybe your mom could say, listen, I don't feel comfortable having dozens of people at my house when I'm away on vacation. You may use my farm, but not on a weekend when I'm not there. You have to reschedule or find somewhere else. And then watch the whole thing implode when she can't find a venue this late in the game anyway. Reply, you know, I think you're right. My mom is way stronger than me. I cave because I don't want to hurt feelings. My mom cuts right through the bullshit. Commenter 3. Wow, does her boyfriend even know he's getting married? And in this timeline, I just tell her no, you're busy that weekend, as is your mother whose farm she's planning on using, and furthermore it's not in your budget. Your reasons are incredibly reasonable and your niece sounds like she couldn't handle her sister getting married and being in the spotlight more than her. Reply, I think that's exactly what it is. 2 months before the wedding, Leah set off for boot camp, so for the months leading up to that, she was getting a lot of attention. Then something happened, no one knows the truth, and she got shipped back from boot camp 3 weeks leading up to the wedding. Dawn refused to make Leah a bridesmaid and told her there was no time for her to get a dress and all that. So of course she thought Dawn's wedding was the best time to tell everyone she is getting married. Update. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone who commented on my original post. In my everyday life, I am the problem solver, the fixer, so I was looking at this entire situation as a problem that I needed to solve. I knew if I asked you guys what to do, you would all see it from a perspective that I was just too close to see. Thank you all for showing me that not only was any of this my problem, but also that it was not my responsibility to do anything at all in this situation. Clearly, I have shit that need to work on and keep working on. My husband has helped me over the 11 years we have been together. I used to be like a field mouse and absolutely terrified to say no to people, sometimes even crying over it. Thanks to the people on here who suggested it, I'm actually going to start practicing saying, standing up for myself and letting no be a complete sentence. My husband said I can practice on him whenever I need to and we will start working on it today. Okay, so, the update. Sunday night I called my mom and told her everything. I pointed out that we will be gone on the weekend Leah was wanting to get married on and said that for once, I would be putting my foot down. We will be going on the trip. My mom laughed and said not to worry and that Leah has lost her damn mind if she thinks any of us will pay for anything. I told her to call my dad before my sister had a chance to lie to him. My dad said the same thing as mom and decided to call Lee's dad to find out what was going on. Lee's dad said he told Leah that since he just bought her a car and his business is getting ready to shut down for winter, he could not afford a wedding for her this year. He told her to put the wedding off till around May of next year and that would be enough time. Leah lost her shit. Her dad said after a lot of screaming, she finally yelled, I'll pay for it myself. And apparently in Lee's mind, that meant getting all of us to pay for it. My dad said he needed to tell Leah that not a single one of us will ever pay for her to get married, ever, and if she just absolutely has to, she can do it at the courthouse. Later that night Leah's dad called my dad back and said he sat Leah down and demanded to know why she was pushing for a wedding so soon. Turns out, her boyfriend is joining the Navy and they thought it'd be a good idea to get married. Her dad told her that none of us are paying anything for her wedding and she would have to go to the courthouse if she had to, but there will be no wedding this year. After an hour of yelling, Leah said fine and she will just move the wedding to next year, but honestly, if her boyfriend is going away, I can totally see her finding a new guy while he is gone and this whole wedding thing going away. So thank you all so much for helping me. TLDR, Lee's finally got through to her that no one will be paying for her wedding and she agreed to put it off. I'm going to work on myself and have an awesome trip. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, thanks for the update. She sounds like the type to cheat on her boyfriend when he hasn't even been at boot camp for a week. Reply, she's cheated on him a lot. Commenter 2, wow, fucking tell him. Don't let them get married. She sounds crazy. Reply, the fucked up thing is she tells him herself. She cheats on him, tells him about it and says he can't get mad because she was honest with him. Why does the BF want to marry Leah after that? He has very low self-esteem and self-worth. He thinks Leah is the only person who will ever love him. Dawn has told him many times he could find someone better. Update 2. Well, a few people wanted an update to the update, so I thought I'd let everyone know that Dawn and I found out today that Leah got married Tuesday. Absolutely no one knew about it. Leah's mom, my sister. Dawn called her today to try to get her to talk Leah out of the whole marriage thing altogether. Dawn said to her mom that there's no way she could think it's a good idea for Leah to get married, and my sister replied, well, it's kinda too late for that. Dawn asked her mom what the hell that meant and she said they snuck off Tuesday and got married at the courthouse. My sister tried to act like Leah had no choice since it's my fault none of us would pay for her wedding. Apparently I somehow have the power to tell my parents not to pay for a wedding, and since I thought my trip was more important and refused to let mom cancel, what was Leah supposed to do? Dawn went off on her mom and stuck up for me, but I couldn't care less if she is blaming me. I cut my sister out of my life 6 years ago, so anything she says means nothing in my life. Leah says they will have a real wedding next year, and Dawn told her mom that when she does have it, not to ask her for a cake or me to decorate. Dawn said we will not help in any way and she told me she's gonna beat me if I help, but I told her not to worry about it. So yeah, that's that I guess. Hope my sister can pay for the divorce. TLDR, Leah snuck off and got married, my sister said she had to because of me. Fuck him. The first is, so I make handmade gifts for people that I love and I used to make my niece handmade things for her all the time. Until one day she let slip that everything I've ever made for her she sold online. She told me I should be flattered because everything sold for a good chunk of change. That was 6 years ago and she doesn't understand why I no longer give her any gifts at all. She completely broke my heart. The one that broke my heart, I made her a custom coffee table out of a door from our grandma's house. That door was the last thing we had from the house and now it's in some stranger's house. Someone then asked, not to be weird but I saw you'd written about her a while back, is she still married? Are there kids? LMAO, and I responded, that's a different niece, she's actually married to someone else and she can't have kids. Stories number 16. My boyfriend finished in me without my consent and admitted it was intentional. Earlier today, my boyfriend, M18, and I, F18, had consensual sex. Nothing rough, just normal missionary. Before we started, I clearly told him not to finish in me because I'm ovulating and we weren't using protection. He agreed. During sex, he said he was going to finish soon, which usually means he's about to pull out. But instead, he slowed down and didn't say anything. I asked if he finished, and he casually said, yeah, I finished in you. I was shocked and started to freak out. I reminded him that I told him not to, and he replied, I know, it just felt too good. He's apologized many times since and admitted it was selfish, but then he refused to help pay for Plan B. I had to buy it myself. And now I'm just sitting at home alone, scared, upset, and wondering if I'm overreacting or if this is something really serious. I feel violated. I feel used. And honestly, I don't feel like he actually cares about what he did to me. I already took Plan B, so chances are I'm not pregnant, but does that make how I feel any less valid? Has anyone been through something like this? What should I do? Is this considered a form of sexual assault? Stories number 17. Aita for not giving my business class seat to my wife on our international flight. My wife, 32F, and I, 34M, recently took an international trip to visit her family. We travel a lot for work and have built up a lot of frequent flyer miles and airline status. When we booked the tickets, we both got economy seats since that's what fit our budget. 2 weeks before the flight, my wife and I were sent an email from the airline telling us we were eligible for an upgrade using our miles. I informed my wife about this, and asked her if it was okay to upgrade our tickets. She said that was fine, and to go ahead and upgrade my ticket. Because we have separate accounts with the airline, she would have to upgrade her own ticket, and I would have to upgrade mine separately. I offered to log into her account and upgrade her ticket when I upgraded mine, but she said that she would do it on her own. The week leading up to the flight, I had been reminding her to upgrade her ticket, but when the time came to go to the airport, she had not upgraded her ticket. When we got to the airport, I offered to switch tickets with her, but she declined. I went to the business class check-in while she went the economy one. She seemed too distracted with checking in to be bothered with the ticket situation. But when we boarded the plane and I was heading toward business class, she was confused and asked me why I had not downgraded my ticket in order to sit with her. I explained to her that I was not aware that she wanted me to sit with her, and she turned away and stormed off to her seat. When we landed, she was snippy with me and made an effort not to talk with me. The whole trip she made little comments about my ticket and refused to talk about it when I asked to. I sat next to her on the flight back, and she didn't say anything about it, and seemed to be less aggravated. Now that we're back, she keeps bringing it up in passive-aggressive ways, saying things like, "Must have been nice to have all that extra room while your wife was cramped in the back." I brought this up with some of my friends, some think I was in the right, but others say I should have given up my ticket. Aita for not giving up my seat. Edit. There was no way I could have upgraded her ticket for her, I don't know her login information and she kept brushing me off. We've only been married for a year. Stories number 18. Aita for telling my mom if she can't accept my dad is father of the bride at my wedding and not her husband then she won't be invited. My parents have been divorced since I, 29F, was 2. They shared custody of me until I was 15 when I chose to spend more time at my dad's house than mom's. Mom remarried when I was 6. Dad did not. He hasn't dated seriously either. My parents had a bad dynamic and parallel parented versus co-parenting. This means they did not agree on punishments and rules for both houses, they communicated only when necessary and there was no, "we're still a family even though we divorced" vibe. I very much had mom's house, dad's house and my time there was with that parent, never both. My dad and mom's husband did not get along. My mom and her husband have always claimed my dad alienated me from her husband. My dad did stuff that some wouldn't like. When I said my mom and her husband had mentioned me calling her husband dad or something, my dad said he wouldn't like that. He told me that mom was wrong when she brought up me splitting Father's Day between both houses because of her husband. When I said it to dad he told me he's my dad, not mom's husband and he needed to know his place in this. There was other stuff like that. People have acted shocked when they hear my dad said it but I don't think he was wrong to do it. My mom and her husband disagree. They tried to take dad's parenting time away when I was younger, and they failed. I never saw my mom's husband as a father figure and never developed a closeness to him. I see him as the guy I know because he's married to my mom and nothing more. Everything he's included in is because of mom not because he's particularly important to me. He has tried very hard but I wasn't feeling it. Still, for some reason, and even after all this time, my mom believed that on my wedding day her husband would be given the honor. When she saw a post I made about taking dancing lessons with dad for our father-daughter dance she saw red and started yelling about her husband and how he always takes a backseat to dad and after dad poisoned the well so much she thought he deserved better and that as an adult I would see things more clearly and appreciate that her husband was always there and didn't let my dad push him out of the way. She said it was an insult to have my dad as father of the bride when he never put me first. I told her we would never see it the same way. She told me I had to because what about grandkids and when they come along, will her husband always be grandma's husband and not grandpa? I told her most likely. She said that was unacceptable and my dad being acting father of the bride is unacceptable too. I told her if she can't accept that dad is father of the bride, not her husband, then she won't be invited at all. My mom ranted and raved some more about what an asshole she thinks my dad is and how her husband deserves way better. Stories number 19. Aita for responding with annoyance to a colleague questioning my going out to grab lunch. A colleague started asking me about my lunch today. She fairly often asks me what I'm eating, asks me about eating rice cakes for snacks and why I don't put them with anything, and it's a little intrusive. I said I'd forgotten my lunch so I'd have to go out and grab something. Usually I bring lunch. She made a shocked expression and said I wasn't allowed to do that. I work in a school and there are no rules about not leaving the building at lunch, I'm also not paid at lunch. I said I had to because I didn't have any food. She looked shocked again and asked if I was going to tell the front desk. I said no and she looked shocked again. I felt she was being so intrusive that I said, why are you asking me all these questions if you're just going to suspect what the answer is going to be and make faces at me? She said I was being mean, so I repeated that I didn't like her questioning and making faces at me. She said, "You're in a bad way today and I won't converse with you again." I followed up with a short email saying I didn't like her volunteering her opinion about my decisions. Basically, I spoke out of annoyance because I don't like being questioned about my decisions and being told I'm doing something wrong when A, it hasn't got anything to do with her, and B, it's not actually against the rules. But she obviously took offense and is making out like I was, in a bad way. Aita because I don't think I am, but I also feel like our work acquaintance is now jeopardized, which is a bit awkward. Stories number 20. Aita for laughing when I accidentally broke something at my BF's parents' house, which possibly led them to not let me stay over visit. I, 18F, have been dating my boyfriend, 19M, for a while now. He lives with his parents, and up until recently, they had no issue with me staying over. In fact, they had even offered to let me move in at one point. We all got along, or so I thought. But recently, things changed. A few weeks ago, I accidentally backed over a metal chicken statue in their yard. I didn't see it, but apparently it was worth $150. I felt terrible about it and apologized multiple times. I also offered to pay for it. The problem is, when it happened, I kind of laughed, not because I thought it was funny, but because I was shocked and nervous. It was just a gut reaction. I explained that to my boyfriend, and he tried to explain it to his mom, but she didn't buy it. She told him she thought it was super disrespectful. Since then, she's been going around telling other family members about it, along with the fact that she found a pregnancy test in his room. Out of nowhere, she messaged my boyfriend and said, "God laid conviction on our hearts and that I'm no longer allowed to stay over, or really even come over at all." No conversation with me directly, just a message to him. Both my boyfriend and I are hurt. He feels like it's wrong to stay somewhere I'm not welcome. But we also can't afford to move out yet, and I can't host him at my house either. My grandpa is super strict. So now we're stuck, and I feel like this whole thing spiraled from a mistake I already owned and apologized for. So, Aita for laughing in that moment and possibly being the reason I'm no longer welcome? Or is this a bigger issue that has less to do with the chicken and more to do with how his mom really feels about me? Stories number 21. Tonight my 4-year-old nephew broke through every piece of armor I've put on and every wall I've built. I deflect a lot. I'm a bartender of 10 years, 34-year-old straight male. Past relationships that all have ended. For the most part, all clean breaks, which make it suck even worse. Kind of a, we both realize we're not meant to be each other's forever person. I feel that's because I deflect. I'm always trying to make a joke, appear strong, or change the subject when things get too real. A lot of betrayal with friends and exes in my past, which is no excuse to quit living, but it built an excellent armor around my true self. I've been on a handful of first dates in the last 6 months. I'm an expert at coming up with reasons to not let the women I go on dates with in. If that makes sense. Keep it on the surface, while still being a gentleman and honest with where I am my intentions, casual fun dates. Tonight my 4-year-old nephew was about to get in the car and go home with my sister and brother-in-law, but I was in the driveway, and he ran probably 25 yards, dead sprint, and I knelt down to his level and he ran into my arms so hard it hit my soul. I couldn't let go of him. I got in my own car to drive home. We all met at my parents' house for my dad's birthday. I cried for the first 5 minutes of that drive because that little kid cut through every part of me that I try to protect with pure, innocent, trusting love. All he knew was, "That's my uncle, man." It was so beautiful. There wasn't anything expected in return. It was just his safe place. I wanted to stay in that moment for the rest of my life. I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. Or about how I would go through hell and back for that fucking kid. Stories number 22. People keep playing music in the pool area after hours. So I play my own music. On a loop. At max volume. So it's summer. I am in an apartment next to the pool. The walls are thin. As in, if you have a conversation in the pool area, I can hear it. Which sucks, but hey, it's a common area. And the place is supposed to close down at 10 p.m. Not what I'd like, but those are the rules. As you can guess by the title of the thread, people are ignoring the closing hours. And staying up as late as 2 a.m. or 4 a.m. at some hours talking or occasionally playing music. I did it all, called the front office, who told me to call the cops who said they wouldn't really do much. There's no county noise ordinance. No county noise ordinance, you say. Keep in mind I do know they will enforce obscenity, Texas gonna Texas. So, starting last Friday, when 10 p.m. rolled around and kids were out playing music and screaming in the pool, I pulled out my own Bluetooth speaker and played What's New Pussycat on repeat. Until people left. Saturday rolls around and there's an email stating the front office is going to lock the pool gates at 10. They did Saturday night. But Sunday night? Nope. And there's a party going on. Tons of kids screaming, out comes the speaker, and we do, What's New Pussycat, on a loop. So far no one's lasted longer than 30 minutes with it. Stories number 23. Aita for telling my mother that my children are not her free labor. I, 45F, have 2 boys. When I was a kid, I was severely parentified. Looking back, I understand that at the time, there wasn't a whole lot else that could be done. My mom was working sometimes 3 jobs, my sperm donor was abusive and left her with all the debt in the divorce, by threat of offing all of us in the night, and it just happened. This sucked, but was pretty much one of those, it sucks, but the alternatives are much worse, kinda deals. Then she married her second husband, mostly because she couldn't take care of us all on her own and pay all the bills. Bob was a dick and did fuck all around the house. So it didn't really do much other than he contributed $$ to the bills. I spent my preteen and teens being used as labor. Neighbor needed a sitter for the night. Guess who was voluntold? My step-siblings came to visit. Of course Bob couldn't be bothered, so he'd literally leave as soon as I got home from school to force me to babysit. He worked as a manager in a fast food place and I'd have to go and wash dishes for hours without pay so that he could keep his labor hours down. I never got an allowance for this shit, and I never got paid. If a neighbor offered, they'd decline on my behalf, insisting it built character. I did all the housework. I did 90% of the dinners at night. I was the one held responsible for if my brother didn't do his chores, you get the idea. As soon as I got to college, that shit stopped. I wasn't living at home anymore. I didn't have to basically keep house for a family of 4, 6 when the step-siblings were visiting. I vowed to never do that shit to my kids. Flash forward. My boys are now teens. My mother has divorced Bob and is married to Kyle. Kyle is amazing. He treats my mom like gold, he's a wonderful grandfather to my kids. Overall, my mom has gotten to the light after a really bad life and 2 bad marriages. However, she still thinks that anyone younger than her should just do whatever work she wants done. She's all the time carrying on to me about how I need to get those boys out here to split wood or bring the boys out, I need someone to mow the field. You guys need to come over and help me clean the house. Which, I have done in cases where Kyle were in the hospital or infirm for some reason. Shit like that. They live on a farm with 3 dogs. They've both retired and basically just live on the property. Quite honestly, I imagine when Kyle eventually passes, she's going to sell and move back into the city, he says he wants to be buried there. I wouldn't mind having my kids help out, but she wants hours of physical labor from them and no pay. When it comes up, it won't hurt them none and, they need to come help. I finally told her the other day that my kids aren't her free labor crew. I don't mind them doing a couple of things when we visit to help out, but I am not sending them out there a few times a week all summer just so she can have someone to do all the physical stuff she doesn't want to. I got stuck being the family work dog, and I'm not going to allow my sons to have the same issue. She's in her mid-60s and does have some physical limitations of her own, but it's the attitude of entitlement that does it for me. As it is, I make sure that I pay my kids if they go over and do any work for her because I'm not going to be having them not understanding their worth. There's a time and a place for helping out, but there's a fine line between that and being taken advantage of. Otherwise, she's a great grandma, always has been. It's just like she was waiting for them to be old enough for her to start this shit. So, Ada, stories number 24. How do I, M37, tell my wife, F38, that I don't want to move to US without sounding like an unsupportive husband? My, M37, wife, F38, was recently offered a position at a major corporation in California. She's currently working as a chemical engineer in Dublin, earning a very competitive salary. The only catch, at least for my wife, is that there's little to no room for professional growth in her current job because she's already reached the highest position available in her department. A few months ago, she mentioned looking around for a new job as she was feeling really burnt out with her present role. As her husband, of course I wholeheartedly supported her. She never really mentioned anything about US, or that she was even applying to a position in California. Now, ever since she received her offer a few days ago, she's been really happy and excited about possibly moving there. Despite my concerns, I've been very supportive because I did not want her to think that I'm not happy for her. Because I am. But I really don't want to move to US. My wife and I are originally from the Philippines. We have 2 little girls who were born here in Ireland. The eldest will be starting primary school this year and I worry that if we ever move, she will have a hard time adjusting to a completely different country. In addition, with the current political climate, I'm scared that she might be bullied for being an immigrant. Not that it can't happen here, but the chances of it happening in US is more likely. Our parents also frequently visits us here from the Philippines and they get to be present in our children's lives. But again, with its current political climate, if we move to US, it might be difficult for our parents to apply for a tourist visa and fly in to visit us. My wife is really happy and it fills me with joy seeing how excited she is, especially after hearing her complain about how unfulfilling her current job is for months on end. But I honestly don't think moving our family to the United States is the move. How do I tell her this without sounding like an unsupportive husband? How do I, M37, tell my wife, F38, that I don't want to move to US without sounding like an unsupportive husband? Update. Hello everyone. Thank you so much for all the advice on my previous post. I made that post at the break of dawn and I think I was even half asleep, so I apologize for the lack of details. I didn't expect it to receive so many comments and I can't reply to all of them, so I'm making a separate post to answer some of the common questions plus give some updates. The company she will be working for is in Sunnyvale, California. Her estimated first-year package is close to $500,000. They are offering to cover moving expenses for our family of 4, and once in California, we will have temporary housing for 60 days. She will also be given a $30,000 sign-on bonus. Both of these, the relocation assistance and sign-on bonus, is subject to a retention clause. I think she has to work for the company for at least 24 months, otherwise, she has to repay them. Her base salary is going to be $410,000. More than twice her current wage. Immigration-wise, the company will sponsor her H-1B visa and Perm Green Card sponsorship will be available after 24 months of employment. She will also have unlimited PTO and health insurance will be 100% covered by her employer. Lastly, they are also offering her RSUs, vested for 4 years, and a 401k package. Currently, we earn just over €520,000 per year as engineers. I work remotely as a software engineer for a US-based company, but that arrangement may be impacted if we relocate to the United States, since I likely won't be permitted to work under an H-4 visa. We also fully own a 6-bedroom home in Dublin. Moving to California would mean going back to paying rent or taking on a mortgage again. We've also been to California several times before and my wife loves the fact that it's home to many Filipinos. She says that she'd like for our kids to grow up around other Filipino kids. Plus, she's been away from the Philippines for so long. She did her PhD in Singapore for 5 years and 2 years after that, we moved to Dublin. I think the idea of being around our own folks really makes the idea of moving to California more enticing. Anyway, I brought up my concerns to her today, and we've actually been discussing them since this morning. She seems genuinely intent on accepting the job. I asked her whether she's drawn to it because it truly excites her, or if she's just eager to escape her current role. As others mentioned in my previous post, what if we go through the stress of relocating to California, only for her to end up hating this job too? I told her that if her main reason is just wanting to leave her current position, she can just quit. In fact, I've been encouraging her to quit her job ever since she told me how burnt out she was last year. I had even suggested that we take a month off back in the Philippines to reset and help her recover before job hunting again. Hell, she can take a year off from working for all I care. I don't mind at all. She's incredibly accomplished, with an impressive resume. I truly don't think she'd have much trouble finding something new and more fulfilling and is not in United States once she decides to work again. The only answer she could give me regarding my question was an I don't know. We've run the numbers and she believes that it's doable, even on a single income. After reading all the comments on my previous post, I'm convinced that even with a $400,000 annual salary, we will not be able to maintain the same lifestyle as we have in Dublin. We travel often, and our eldest does a lot of activities over the year such as sports and musical lessons. We're also planning to send her to a private school. I'm scared that if we try to continue living the same way as we did in Ireland, we'd run through our savings fast if we go this route. Thankfully, after showing her the news and what's been going on in US right now, plus the school shootings, she agreed that it might not be a good idea to go as a family. But now, she is insisting on going alone and flying back to Ireland on holidays or vacations to see us, or we fly to her. Honestly, I am really upset that she would even suggest this. Especially when our eldest is just about to start school. She'd be missing out on so much as a parent. I asked her what will be the long-term plan for us if she decides to go that path, because we can't realistically sustain a long-distance setup forever. I guess that struck a nerve. She snapped and told me that if I don't want her to take the job, I should just say so instead of pretending to support her while constantly trying to talk her out of it. I'm honestly so tired and upset. I'm really trying to keep a level head and meet her halfway, but I need her to do the same for me. She's usually very rational about things, so this current outburst plus the sudden urge to move to California confuses me so much. We're at a stalemate right now, but I fear that if she continues to insist on going to California on her own, I'd eventually just fold and agree to moving there as a family. I love my wife and my daughters, and I really don't want them to be apart from each other. She has until the end of the month to decide, so I'm hoping she has a change of heart by then. Thank you all for your support, advice, and kind words. Stories number 25. Help. My landlord moved a mentally challenged tenant into the house I live in. What can I do? For 6 years I've been renting a house. It's completely furnished with my belongings. My landlord lives in the house behind mine and we don't have a lease between us. He and I have existed harmoniously for years now. About a month ago, I came home to find that my landlord had moved a mentally challenged, unemployed man who has autism, into the spare bedroom in the house I rent. Somehow my landlord must have located an organization that places mentally challenged people in residencies. But now this guy's become my problem, not the landlord's. He steals all New York food, toiletries, etc. And doesn't understand why that's not okay. Scolding him gets me nowhere. He has zero boundaries and has walked right into my bedroom before. Does anyone know anything about what organizations or agency would place a disabled person in a house with those who aren't mentally disabled? I'm sure my landlord is getting paid to warehouse this guy under the same roof with me. Yet I'm willing to bet the organization that placed him here thinks he's being watched over and tended to by our landlord who lives next door. Stories number 26. My boyfriend's female best friend bought him lingerie for his birthday. So my boyfriend, 28M, of 2 years has this childhood friend, 28F, who's always been way too handsy with him. I've bit my tongue about their weird dynamic for ages, the lingering hugs, inside jokes I'm not part of, how she texts him at 2 a.m. just to chat. But yesterday took the cake. For his birthday, she gifted him expensive silk boxers from a women's lingerie store, as a joke, her words. The kicker. They're in her size, not his. When I called it inappropriate, he laughed it off saying, that's just how she is, and that I'm overreacting as usual. Now she's posting cryptic Instagram stories about people who can't handle real friendships, with heartbreak emojis. Meanwhile my boyfriend says I'm making drama and should apologize to her for misunderstanding their bond. For giving him an ultimatum, either he establishes normal boundaries or I'm done. I'm tired of being the jealous girlfriend when she's clearly marking her territory. Or am I actually the problem here? Stories number 27. My roommate said I was financially abusing her because I wouldn't cover her half of the rent. I live with a roommate who's in between jobs, like, all the time we're supposed to split rent 50-50. I pay mine. She mostly makes excuses. This month she said she couldn't pay and asked if I could just cover it and she'd pay me back eventually. I told her I couldn't, not mad or anything, just honest. I'm not exactly swimming in cash either. A few hours later she said I was financially abusing her, and that I was stressing her out on purpose, said I was toxic for caring more about bills than her mental health. I said rent's still due on the first no matter how she feels about it. She hasn't said a word to me since. Just keeps posting stuff like, being broke doesn't mean you don't deserve love. So yeah, I guess I'm the villain now for paying my half. Stories number 28. My boyfriend's upset with my response to his daughter visiting. Hey all, I just wanted to get some advice from parents in the community about my boyfriend's daughter coming to stay for the month of July. I, 24, have been dating my boyfriend, 30 who will call B, for about a year now. He had his daughter when he was around 17 and after she was born his girlfriend at the time moved to be closer with family, about 18 hours away. B gets his daughter every July, and this is where I have some reservations. B was renting a house off of an older gentleman who retired and the new house B will be renting is not ready until August. So, since mid-May, B has been staying with me in my studio apartment. He casually mentioned to me today that his daughter would be staying with us in my studio for July. I responded that it felt a little inappropriate especially since his sister lives 5 minutes away from us, 2-bedroom apt, and his mom is 30 minutes away, 4-bedroom house. I tried to explain to him that it's not appropriate for his 12-year-old daughter to not only be meeting me for the first time but to also be sleeping on an air mattress in the same room as us. In my opinion she's at that age where she needs her privacy and she's old enough to understand relationships and might not feel comfortable staying so close to us especially since I am a stranger to her. I asked him what his daughter's mom thought and he said he never told her because she would be okay with it. If that was my daughter I don't think I would let her visit her dad knowing this information. It's a scary world out there and I just want what's best for his child. So to any mothers and fathers out there, am crazy for thinking like this, or would you too have reservations if your kids were in the same situation? Also, if there are any suggestions as to how you can better handle this situation, please let me know. Stories number 29. I lost 2 friends but feel like I did the right thing. I'm single, mid-30s. One of my closest friends is married. I know his wife well too, like, I've been to their wedding, their house, we've done game nights, birthdays, all of it. They've had ups and downs, but I always thought they were solid. A couple weeks ago he tells me they had a huge fight, things are bad, he needs to get away for a couple days and asks if he can crash at my place. I say of course. He's my friend. I wanted to be there for him. Day 2, I get home early from work, and I walk into my bed being used by him. With some random woman I've never seen in my life. I just stood there. He was literally still pulling his pants up, trying to get words out. He begged me. Like begged me not to say anything. Said it was a mistake. That he and his wife were, kind of on a break. That he didn't want to lose her, blah blah blah. I didn't even know what to say. I felt used and honestly kind of grossed out that this was what he did with my trust. I sat with it for a couple days. Tried to sleep. Tried to not think about it. But I couldn't. I kept picturing her face. So eventually, I told her. Just the basics. I didn't get into the details. Just told her what I saw. Now he's pissed. Like beyond pissed. Said I ruined his marriage, that it wasn't my place, and that he thought he could trust me. I haven't heard from her either. I don't expect to. So yeah, I probably lost both of them, but I couldn't lie for him. Not after what I saw, not in my own home. I know I did the right thing. Stories number 30. Am I the jerk for not letting a Karen cut the line even though she claimed her baby was alone in the car? So this happened last weekend. I, 20-year-old male, was at a popular brunch spot known for their ridiculous weekend lines. We're talking 30+ minutes just to order. I was grabbing food for me and my girlfriend, so I figured I'd tough it out. About 20 minutes in, this woman, mid-40s, clearly stressed but also kind of dramatic, storms in and walks right to the front. She cuts ahead of at least 15 people and says to the cashier, "Hi, I would like an egg omelette, some coffee, and pancakes please." The cashier looked unsure and kind of froze. That's when I spoke up from about 3 people back and said, "Hey, you can't cut 20 people in line and say, it's fine, go to the back and wait your turn." She looked at me like I just insulted her ancestors and went, "Are you kidding me? My child is in the car. You wouldn't do this to your kid, will you?" I said, "If your kid's alone in a car, you shouldn't be here at all, and definitely not cutting the line." She scoffed and said I clearly don't understand the stress of motherhood, and called me a jerk loudly. Some people behind me told her to wait like everyone else, but a couple looked uncomfortable and didn't say anything. The cashier ended up refusing to serve her, and she stormed out after telling me to enjoy your overpriced eggs, jack $1. Later, my buddy, who's a dad, said I could have handled it with more empathy, like letting her go ahead and then reporting the situation if I was truly worried. His take, "You were right on principle, but you looked heartless in practice." So now I'm stuck wondering, AITJ for holding the line and calling her out, or should I have let it slide because of the kid? Stories number 31. MOH overcharged us for the Bachelorette and pocketed all the money. I'm a bridesmaid and just found all of this out. The bride, A, has her younger sister, B, as her MOH. Myself and the other 4 bridesmaids are all hometown friends of us, so we've known B since she was little. B is a POS. She's the typical spoiled, babied younger sibling who was never held accountable of her actions, and people always excused her behavior because that's how B is. We knew she'd be the MOH cause A airs her little sister. And A is also a sweetheart that forgives easy. Come to the Bachelorette. It was an easy, local weekend. The Airbnb B picked out was great and the activities we did were all fun and seemed very reasonable. We were all honestly surprised at how well she did, until we got the Venmo request at the end of the weekend, which was suspiciously a lot for what we estimated everything would have cost. It was a red flag that she didn't ask us for money for the Airbnb ahead of time, stating she'd just give us all a final bill at the end of the weekend. None of us wanted to be the girl that asks for an itemized list of everything, so we just paid up and went on our merry way. Well, that was a month ago. The wedding is in a week and their cousin who was at the Bachelorette, who I happen to know from college, texted me and spilled everything. Turns out AMB's mom paid for everything. B used her mom's credit card for the Airbnb, the decorations, the food, and even the drinks she got at the bar. And when we Venmo'd her the money, she not only pocketed all of it, she added an extra $50 to all our tabs. She told all of this to the cousin in confidence, apparently justifying it by saying she's broke and owes a friend money for going to Coachella earlier this year and this was her plan all along. I told the rest of the bridesmaids this and they're livid. One girl wants to tell the bride. One girl wants to drive to B's house and demand her money back. One girl took the time to estimate how much B made off us and came up with almost 3K. I'm just at a loss. I've known B since she was 8. I know she's a POS. But this is a whole new level. Stories number 32. Both of us decided we wanted to divorce on Friday and now my husband is head over heels in love again. What is happening? F33M32. Backstory: me wife, 33, husband, 32, have been together on and off since age 13. Last time we got back together was 10 years ago. Have been married 7. Anyway, relationship has been going south. I'll save you the full backstory, but basically we've just spent a week apart and I came home Friday to tell my husband I didn't want to be together anymore. He said, I agree. We then actually communicated for the first time in our entire relationship. Normally it's me begging for something and getting silence. Anyway, we sobbed and sobbed. Agreed to go work on ourselves. Still love each other but agree it isn't working. Still want to be friends, etc. Generally the best outcome, and we are completely financially tied currently anyway. During all of this I am now easily the most vulnerable I have ever been. Broken is probably the right word, and anyway my husband has done a complete 360 and is now completely besotted. He has become everything I've ever wished for overnight and is now going to stop at nothing to keep me safe and love me properly. He said he feels complete, like he isn't worried he will let me down because I need him and he will build me back up. Meanwhile I'm like, WTF. Where has this been our entire marriage? My main argument has been how I don't feel emotionally safe cause I do everything, and up until a month ago was the only one earning money and felt overwhelmed by the responsibility and needed him to set up. Also I am so broken I don't know what to do or think. Is it sustainable? Am I been love bombed? Like, I'm pretty confident we are trauma bounded from growing up together in a rough time and I am very away. I'm trying to keep the peace to feel safe, but he is saying his brain feels like it's been rewired. Can us finally communicating do that? Stories number 33. Kids dropped off on our porch. I won't make this post long, happened a few hours ago. Me and my girlfriend do not have kids, so we have extra, free time, as we always get told by my cousin, who has 4 kids, all minors. She had been joking around lately and saying we should take care of the children, all of them, as she has booked a cruise with her new boyfriend. We didn't pay any attention to it as it sounded absurd and just laughed along with her. We both have an extra day off as it was a long weekend, and heard some knocking on the door at 7 a.m. in the morning. We knew it wouldn't be the postman as they don't arrive that early and weren't expecting any visitors. I go down to check who it is and see my cousin's 4 kids standing out there in the cold, mother nowhere in sight. I open the door and bring them in because it's freezing outside and they had no jackets on, then asked where the mother is. They said she told us that you would take care of us while she is on her cruise, so we took the bus and came to your house. I couldn't believe my eyes and ears, I kept thinking WTF. So I called her immediately and her phone was off. Called her new boyfriend and his phone went to voicemail. I asked the kids to explain exactly what their mom has told them. They said in these words, she said since you don't have any responsibilities and have free time you said you will look after us while she's gone. What do I do? I called my aunt and she said the same thing, that my cousin has told her I agreed to take care of the kids. She didn't even have the courtesy to drop them off and made them catch the bus on a cold winter day. Thinking of calling child services at this point. Stories number 34. My coworker kept stealing my pens. So I started refilling them with glitter ink. I work in this pretty chill office, but for whatever reason my pens kept missing, not like, all my pens. Just mine, the ones I actually liked using. I kinda had a feeling who it was but didn't want to cause drama. Then one day I saw her using my purple gel pen during a meeting. I said something like, hey I think that's mine, and she just laughed and went, oops lol, didn't even notice. So I ordered some cheap refillable pens and swapped the ink for glitter gel. They looked normal when you wrote with them but dried all sparkly and ridiculous. Next meeting she's writing away and someone goes, why does your notebook look like a birthday card? She just started at it like it betrayed her soul. My pens haven't gone missing since, no apology or anything, just awkward silence. Honestly? I'll take it. Stories number 35. I got suspended from college for standing up against a girl who was bullying a classmate. What should I do now? TLDR, I saw a classmate getting bullied in the college corridors 2 days ago and defended the girl. The bully berated both her and me for interfering with her, and badmouthed my mother and called her names. I was also slapped before this, so I hit back in defense. She hit me back, but I stayed silent. After that, I ensured the girl was safe and helped her return home. I got a call from my college informing me that I'm suspended and that I should meet the dean and the bully's parents today. There's this girl in my class who has a pretty bad reputation for being a spoiled kid in my college. Let's call her X. She thinks she owns the college just because of her parents' influential status. Her father is a politician, and her mother is a famous doctor in my city. 2 days ago, I was going back home after submitting some assignments to a professor after college, and saw X attacking and berating another girl, let's call her A, in the corridors with her friends, all because she lead an anti-bullying campaign in college, and dresses up in a poor way, and how she needs to be like her, dress up like her, and just be rich. I took a moment to see A, shriveled up in a corner and sobbing uncontrollably as X and her friends circle her and keep laughing and bullying her. I stepped in and stood in front of A, wanting to stop things from escalating, and X tried to slap me for doing that, and the hit landed. I couldn't take it, but I stayed silent. I know my limits, and I know I can't be aggressive toward women, no matter the situation. She kept insulting me and even badmouthed my mother, and asked how many professors she had to sleep with to let a son like me get admission in this college. I stayed silent till that point in time, but I couldn't take it and slapped her, and shouted at her and her friends for insulting my mother, and also for bullying an innocent classmate. X stayed silent for a moment before getting even more pissed and started scratching my arm and hitting me repeatedly, and her friends started berating me, too. I knew I crossed a line I shouldn't have, and didn't hit her back. I took the hits and just waited for the situation to defuse a bit. It took some time, but they left eventually. I made sure A was comfortable enough near me and gave her some food after they left, and offered to give her the cab fares, since that's the only transport available that late. She thanked me for it, and I booked an Uber for her. Now, my parents got a call last morning from the college and informed them that I was suspended for a week for hitting a classmate. Naturally, they got angry at me, and it's valid, since suspension is a serious matter. I don't blame them at all for reacting that way. I tried to explain it to them, and thankfully, they seemed to understand that I meant well, and my dad eventually took my side, but my mother was still a bit pissed that I got a suspension, no matter what the reason was. As much as this sounds like a made-up story, I'm afraid it's not. I'm scared of what the college might do, since I have finals coming up at the end of June, and I really don't want to have anything troubling me before I write them. I regret that I got physical, because even if circumstances were bad, that can be used against me. I'm terrified of what's gonna happen, and I was called by the dean of my college to meet him today, along with my parents. I think X's parents are gonna be there too, and I hope the dean and X's parents can hear me out. Update: I got suspended from college for standing up against a girl who was bullying my classmate. What should I do now? A while ago, I posted about how I got suspended for standing up against a girl who was bullying my classmate and got called up for a meeting with the dean and the bully's parents, so this is an update on that. TLDR for those who need it, I saw a classmate, let's call her A, getting bullied in the college corridors 2 days ago and defended the girl. The bully, let's call her X, berated both her and me for interfering with her, and badmouthed my mother and called her names. I was also slapped before this, so I hit back in defense. She hit me back, but I stayed silent. After that, I ensured the girl was safe and helped her return home. I got a call from my college informing me that I'm suspended and that I should meet the dean and the bully's parents today. I went to the dean's office, and I saw X, her parents, and my crush, because she just so happens to be X's friend, which is great, just what I needed. Firstly, my dean asked me to stand beside his desk so I have no contact and can maintain my distance with X, her parents, and my crush. He asked me to be honest and asked me about my side of the story. I explained everything in detail, from witnessing the incident and why I was there in the first place, to what I did to A afterwards. Surprisingly, her father was calm, and I could see her mother sympathizing with A for a moment, which made me realize that this might not be the first time they are seeing their daughter bully someone, and her mother asked if she could see the story A typed out for me, which I handed to her. Her mother was actually guilty and was on the verge of tears, which made me feel insanely bad. Her father just sat silently, but X and my crush never stopped staring at me, giving me all sorts of dirty, disgusted looks. Turns out, my crush reached out to X and backed her up, saying I was terrible to her, too. Even when I entered the office, both of them chewed me out, shouting and saying things like, "How dare you treat a woman like this? Don't you have the common sense to know that you shouldn't hit women?" Her father apologized for what happened and asked if I could keep this between the people present there and those walls. I understood his intent behind his request, knowing that he doesn't want his reputation to be tarnished, and I don't want any legal or dramatic actions taken, anyway. Her mother gave a genuine apology and was disappointed, mentioning and confirming my thoughts that this was not the first time, nor the first person X has bullied. I feel so bad for her mother, she seems genuinely hurt by what her daughter's doing. She was even sympathetic towards A, which I don't know is aroused or is genuine. I'm outside my college now, and I think I'll call up A and go to her house to explain what happened in the meeting. Stories number 36. My 32F boyfriend, 38M, completely forgot my birthday but remembered the birthday of a 16-year-old girl, bought her a gift, and even offered to throw her a little party. How do I deal with my feelings of alarm, and do they have any basis? A lot of context is necessary here. I, 32F, met my boyfriend, 38M, mid last year when we crossed paths as we work in the same kind of job. Our job revolves around helping people in need and people who don't have stable shelter. In April of this year my boyfriend was going through a hard time and completely forgot my birthday. I didn't throw a fuss or anything because I felt bad for what he was going through, and I just accepted that his mind was busy with important stuff. I didn't even mention it to him. Granted, I was disappointed as I had thrown him a big party for his birthday and even bought him a phone, but I decided to let it go as best as I could. Fast forward to a few weeks ago, we came in contact with a family who needed our help. This family consists of a mom, dad, and their beautiful 16-year-old daughter. I hate to even think it, but from the get-go something in me felt like this girl caught my boyfriend's eye. I know it's disgusting to think that, as she's only 16, but I noticed that he talked to her more often than other kids we help, asked for her help with stuff, and got visibly upset when he found out that some neighborhood boys had entered the shelter's yard where she lives and played with her and other kids, though that could have been his protective side. However, today some major alarm bells rang when he came back home with a bunch of gifts. A number of these gifts were for a 7-year-old girl whose birthday is coming up, and one gift was for the 16-year-old girl, whose birthday is in a few days. I asked him why he singled out these two kids, and he said he was mainly concerned about buying the gifts for the 7-year-old and didn't want the 16-year-old to be left out. I pointed out to him that there are many other kids and he never did the same thing for them. His response was that he just wasn't aware of the other kids' birthdays, and that if he was aware he would buy a gift, and that the little 7-year-old girl kept reminding him about her birthday and the 16-year-old girl's birthday. However, more alarm bells rang when he went to this 16-year-old girl and asked her if she would like anything special done for her birthday, like a cake or a special meal. To be honest, the insecure part of me felt hurt because he forgot my birthday but remembered the birthdays of others and even bought them gifts. Granted, he said he was reminded of them and otherwise likely wouldn't have bought any gifts. I expressed this to him, which he apologized to me for. But another part of me feels alarmed that he's showing too much interest in this child. This girl has not shown any interest in return and even declined his offer for cake and a special meal. There is a small, icky feeling in me that I'm not sure is justified or not. This is a man who spent the past decade helping people in need. I don't know if he's just genuinely being kind to a disadvantaged child and I'm being an insecure woman, or if there is true cause for alarm. Your thoughts, advice is greatly appreciated. TL, my boyfriend has been showing increasing attention to a 16-year-old girl and I'm not sure if it's normal or not. Stories number 37. I got unlimited free food for 2 years thanks to a glitch in my university's GrubHub integration. This happened in college, 2019 to 2020, right around when my university started using GrubHub for on-campus dining. They linked meal plans to the app so you could order from places like Chick-fil-A, Panera, Subway, Panda Express, Cane's, etc., right from your phone. Well, after the first week, something broke. The app stopped deducting anything from my meal plan. I could order unlimited food. And oh boy, I went feral with it. I didn't spend a single dollar on food for nearly 2 years. Aside from restaurants and alcohol, I ate like royalty, ordering multiple full meals a day, grabbing food for friends, strangers, anyone near me. One time I picked up 9 full-sized Panda Express plates for everyone I was hanging out with. My sister would visit and we'd hit up Denny's and order 3 meals each, splitting everything and still leaving with leftovers. It became a regular thing. Panera, Subway, Cane's, Starbucks, Sushi, Pizza Hut, you name it, I was getting it and getting it for free. When I became a junior, I got the meal plan again just to see if the glitch still worked. It did. Eventually, they started catching on and patched it, kinda. All the places stopped working except Panera. So I spent my last few weeks going absolutely nuts at Panera. Didn't know what soup to get. Got them all. Couldn't decide on a sandwich. Got both. Bagels for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. No regrets. It was the most legendary food hack of my life and I think about it. Stories number 38. My best friend's husband confesses he's very attracted to me. What do I do? My best friend's husband is currently away for military service. He's always been a little weird, but yesterday he texted me saying he's really attracted to me and that it's hard to resist himself around me. He's asked to meet up alone, requested pictures, and even asked me to message him from an unknown number. The worst part is that my best friend is due to give birth in a month with their second child. She's already struggling, mentally and financially, and doing her best to hold everything together while he's gone. I feel sick and conflicted. It's hard to look at her knowing all this. We work together. I don't want to cause her more pain when she's already dealing with so much, but I also don't think I can keep this from her. I don't know how or when to tell her. Has anyone been in a similar situation? What would you do? Edit, I am going to tell her, but if I should wait until after she has her kid. I don't want to put all that extra stress on her. She had a complicated pregnancy the first time, so I'm just nervous. Stories number 39. The groom's mom showed up in a wedding dress and said, "Don't worry, mine has more sleeves." At my cousin's wedding last year, everything was going smoothly until the groom's mother made her entrance wearing a white, floor-length gown with a veil. Yes, a veil. People actually paused mid-conversation. It wasn't a soft ivory or beige either, it was wedding white and covered in lace. One kid whispered, "Did she forget whose wedding this is?" The bride looked shocked but kept her cool. The groom, bless him, looked like he wanted the ground to swallow him whole. When someone gently asked her why she was wearing white, she just laughed and said, "Oh, don't worry, mine has more sleeves, we won't get confused." She spent the entire ceremony hovering dangerously close to the front, trying to adjust the bride's train like she was part of the bridal team. At one point she whispered loudly, "This is just like my wedding but with fewer candles." Later, at the reception, she caught the bouquet and shouted, "Round 2 coming up." I don't think the bride has forgiven her yet, but at least now we all know to send her a black jumpsuit invite for any future weddings. Stories number 40. Block me in, I'll drag your car away. Earlier post reminded me of my own petty revenge when I was blocked in by an inconsiderate person. The family and I decided to meet up for a holiday weekend kayaking trip. We all have our own kayaks, and knowing it would be an extremely busy day, we decided the most efficient way for us to get there was to carpool and transport all the kayaks with my utility trailer. We leave early in the day and get to the launch zone and unload. I go park in the trailer parking area and we enjoyed our day out on the water. As expected, when we got back, the park was at full capacity, but what I did not expect was for someone to decide to park in front of my truck, blocking me in. After spending a full day out on the water, I was exhausted and ready to get home. Since it was towards the end of the day, I figured they would be coming back soon, so we just grabbed our kayaks and everyone carried them from ramp to the truck instead of backing the truck down hoping those people would return while we were loading, but they didn't. Fortunately, though, there was enough room that if I unhooked my trailer, I would be able to maneuver out from the spot. After about 30 minutes I said, "Fuck it," and decided to be the asshole everyone expects a four-wheel drive truck driver to be. The car blocking me in had a tow hook and I had a tow rope in my toolbox, so I unhooked my trailer, set up the tow rope to the car and then quickly squeezed my truck out of the parking spot, lined up with the tow rope and then drug his smaller car a few feet through the sandy grass until I could get my trailer out then. GTFO. I really hope they noticed, though I'm sure this person was too incompetent to see the tire marks from his car being drugged through the sand, but it still makes me feel warm on the inside. Stories number 41. AIO for getting upset my dad cropped my wife out of our baby announcement post. We just had our first baby. My wife, 30F, and I, 31M, took a picture together holding the baby for the official announcement. I sent it to my parents and said they could share it. My dad posted a cropped version with just me and the baby. When my wife noticed, she asked if it was a mistake. I called my dad, and he said, "Well, I figured people only care about the bloodline stuff anyway." My wife is not white, for context. She was devastated. I told him that was disrespectful and racist. He said I was making drama over a photo. My mom is saying he meant no harm and I'm blowing it up, but it doesn't feel like just a photo. AIO for making this a big deal. Stories number 42. Dog owners do not need to bring their dog everywhere with them. This seems to be more a recent trend in the last 5 years, people bringing their dogs over to other people's homes or for outings. I'm referring only to pet dogs, not service dogs. Obviously service dogs should go everywhere with their owner. I don't currently own a dog, but have owned 3 dogs as an adult and understand they need a lot of care and walks, etc. I would walk my dog before work, come home on my lunch to let my dog out, walk them after work and before bed. If I was going out for the evening I'd make the after work walk longer, but I never assumed I could bring my dog to other people's homes unless they specifically extended the invitation to bring my dog, usually only friends who were also dog owners and their dogs played with my dog at the off-leash dog park. In recent years I've had a few different people just bring their dog over, unexpected. Twice they assumed it was okay to leave the dog in my fenced-in backyard, after I said my cats would be too bothered by a strange dog in the house. When I was hesitant because I have large vegetable gardens they assured me it would be fine. Then the dog did end up eating and destroying part of my garden, which the owner essentially just brushed off as, dogs being dogs, what did you expect? I didn't expect the dog to be here at all. Other times they asked in advance if they could bring their dog, and acted very annoyed when I said I'd rather not have their dog over. Again, my cats won't like it and I don't want my garden wrecked. My home and yard are not set up for a dog. I've also met up with friends at an ice cream parlor and the weather wasn't very nice, just above freezing, windy, spitting rain. I had expected we'd be eating inside, but one couple brought their dog, then guilt tripped us all into sitting outside with them in the shitty weather since they couldn't come inside. Like, why did you bring the dog then? Stories number 43. My Karen neighbor strikes again. Hello, everyone. It's been a while since I've posted anything, but this story is too crazy not to share. For context, I, 27F, live in a predominantly Hispanic neighborhood, with my family, husband, kids, parents-in-law. My husband's family is Mexican. We don't usually throw parties or have events, but when we do, we always make sure that we are careful about how we do them. Especially with a mega Karen, living directly across the street. I don't usually refer to people as Karens, but this woman definitely earned that title. Now let me explain why. Every year since we have moved into our house, she has threatened to call the cops, or tried to physically interfere with anything that we do at our house. She has even impeded a police investigation out of pure spite towards us. I'll get to that in a minute. Point is, this woman hates everything we do with some serious passion. I don't even know her name, or any real details about her, but she has been deemed by us, and even some of the other neighbors, as a Karen. Got a kid's birthday going on? Nope, not on her watch. She has threatened every year to have all of the kids' birthday parties shut down, because, and I hate to even quote this, you Mexicans don't belong here, you're too noisy, flushed face. Yeah, she's really gone that far with it. Keep in mind, we don't get loud and rowdy because we don't invite anyone who isn't family, and the only rowdy ones would be the children. There was one year that we had a piñata for one of the boys, and she called the cops saying we were committing some sort of domestic violence, based on the sound of the kids going at the piñata. Yeah, it didn't make sense to us either, and the cops got a good laugh out of it too. And the year after that, she marched across the street and yelled at us, because she didn't like our choice of music, corridos, as well as kids' music, because it was all in Spanish, and this is America. We think she's got some deep-rooted issues there. 4th of July. Nope, she'd shut the whole neighborhood down if she could. Now, while I understand that some people do go too far with fireworks, we are not the kind to do so, main reason being that we always have children around and we value their safety as much as our own. But last year, Super Karen went as far as to turn her hose on full blast and spray us and our fireworks with water from across the street. She hates all kinds of fun apparently. But wait, here's the worst part. Remember how I said she impeded an active police investigation? Well, about 2 years ago we had an instance where someone broke into our cars in the middle of the night. We have security cameras that caught most of it. However, we did not have the right angle to catch the license plate number of the getaway car. Can you guess who did? If you said the Karen, you'd be correct. We didn't even ask her. Metro did, because they could see that her camera pointed directly at our driveway. They gave her the option to give them a copy willingly, and she told them to go suck and egg. Can't use her actual words, but I'm sure you get the picture. Needless to say that we couldn't get justice for what happened thanks to her, but thank God for car insurance. She is also the kind of person who will walk super close to our fence with her little yappy dog, and antagonize our pit bulls on purpose. We can see her on the cameras, and then scream and pretend that she or her dog have been injured by one of our dogs. She also lets her dog poop in our yard and driveway when she walks by. Anyways, back to present times, she is at it again. This weekend is my niece's first birthday, and we are hosting at our house. The last 2 days, there have been deliveries of tables, chairs, the bounce house, etc. That have been coming because we don't keep these things on hand, and we like to help our local small businesses by renting things from them. But I kid you not, I saw the Karen, sitting on her front porch with her phone in hand and binoculars, trying to get a really close look at what we're doing. She has already made a point of saying she'll call the cops on us, and how dare we, rent a tent for the backyard, because it's such an eyesore. We live in Vegas and it's hot as hell this time of year, we need shade. Safe to say she just hates everything we do. The party is tomorrow, so I will keep y'all updated on her shenanigans. Update. My Karen neighbor strikes again. For those who have read my last post, I've got the most satisfying update for you. As recommended, we did in fact alert the police ahead of time that our neighbor might try to call and cause issues. Apparently they were already made aware of our party. I was told there was an anonymous call made Friday night because someone saw us putting up the tent. I explained to them that it was just going to be a first birthday party for my niece, and we got the tent for privacy and because of the heat. Vegas is brutally hot this time of year. They said they would make a note of this, and hopefully no issues would arise. Boy, were they wrong. We didn't have any cops show up, but we did have her decide to trespass on our property, and spy on us from the open gate that was used for everyone to get into the backyard. But we had a devious little idea for how to handle her. Since we had a DJ, who BTW was not playing anything super loud. We decided we'd have him announce that there was a special guest lurking around the entrance, and had him repeat this in Spanish so that everyone knew what was going on without alerting her, and that he had a special song for her. What was the song, you ask? Only the best for this particular Karen. We had him play You're So Vain, by Carly Simon, beaming face with smiling eyes. She quite loudly yelled in anger, and then stomped away. She also somehow managed to trip on one of my plants out front, which caused an entire meltdown of cussing and screaming as she stomped back to her house. Safe to say we won this time, but I know she'll be back for revenge. I'll make sure to keep y'all updated if she returns. Stories number 44. I, 27M, found out my fiancé's, 26F, dad died last month. No one told us and she missed the funeral. Hi, I don't even really know how to start this or what I'm asking exactly. I guess I just want to understand what happened, and maybe get some advice on how to help my fiancé deal with this, because it's a lot. And I think she's starting to blame herself, which she really shouldn't. So I proposed to my fiancé back in March. Her dad was the only person I talked to beforehand. I asked for his blessing and he was super kind about it. I only met him a couple times before that, but we had a good conversation and I could tell he really loved her. The thing is, I only met his wife, her stepmom, once, that same day. It was brief and polite, but that's it. Everything else about our engagement planning and updates was through her dad. Her dad has another kid with the stepmom, a teenage son, 17. My fiancé always kind of kept some distance from that part of her dad's life. It wasn't like she hated them or anything, just, they weren't close. Her dad would check in, sometimes visit her on his own, but it always kind of felt like he had two separate families. I never really thought too hard about it. It just was what it was. Then in April, while we were starting to figure out the engagement party and save the dates and all that, he passed away. We didn't even know. We didn't hear anything from anyone. No call, no text, not even a weird silence. Nothing. We only found out this week because one of her cousins posted something online about missing him after the funeral, and my fiancé texted them like, "What do you mean, the funeral?" And they were like, "Everyone was surprised you didn't show." She just shut down. I think she's still in shock. Her dad is gone. She didn't get to say goodbye. She didn't even get told he was dead. The funeral already happened. She missed it. And no one told her. Not her stepmom, not even her own brother, not anyone. And what makes it worse is, now that she's tried to reach out to people, cousins, her aunt, even her dad's friend, she keeps getting these weird half-responses that make her feel like she should have known or been there. Like they're judging her for not showing up, when nobody invited her in the first place. She keeps asking me if she did something wrong. She's wondering if her dad was mad at her. I do think he was happy for us, but now I don't even know what's true anymore. I guess I just don't understand how something like this happens. I know grief makes people act strange and there might be stuff we don't know. I don't want to assume the worst about her stepmom. Maybe she was overwhelmed, or didn't have our contact info, though I feel like she must have had some way to reach out. But I also don't want to make excuses for someone who let my fiancé find out her dad died a month later from a Facebook post. It's starting to feel uncomfortably close to full-on evil stepmom territory, and I hate even thinking that, but this just feels so cold. She's devastated and I don't know what I'm supposed to say or do. I can't fix it. She just keeps saying she can't believe she wasn't there. That she wasn't even given the chance. And I'm angry too, but mostly I just feel helpless. And sad for her. I guess what I'm really asking is, how do I help my fiancé grieve someone she didn't even get the chance to say goodbye to? She keeps wondering if her dad was upset with her, or if she missed some sign, and now the way her family's reacting is only making her feel worse. I want to support her without making her feel like she has to perform grief on anyone else's timeline, or carry blame for something that was never her fault. TLDR, my fiancé wasn't told her dad died and found out a month later from a cousin's post. She missed the funeral, didn't get to say goodbye, and now people are making her feel guilty for not being there. I don't know how to help her process something so painful and confusing. Mini update. I found where her dad is buried and got contact info for who I think is her half-brother. When I showed her the profile to confirm, she shut down and panicked, but it did confirm for me that it's definitely him. She doesn't want to reach out right now, but I might. Most of the comments were in support of OP's fiancé. Notable comments. Comment 1. There is a chance she wasn't informed because of something the stepmom wanted that wasn't left to her, or over the division of assets. Check into his will and see, because apart from just being a sack of shit, that's the only reason I can think of for doing this to her. Comment 2. This whole thing is absolutely weird. For me, it seems as if the stepmother has somehow spoken against your fiancé to her relatives. Not one of them thought to call her when they saw that she wasn't there. There is, of course, very little information in your post about how your fiancé dealt with her stepmother and half-brother when her dad was still alive, about why there was so little contact between them. Maybe the stepmother felt that your fiancé rejected her and her place in her dad's life, or she was the one to drive your fiancé out. We can't tell by your account. What seems to be clear, though, is that she and her father were, if not close, then on very good terms. You don't say anything about cause of death, but I guess it was sudden, so he himself wasn't able to alert his daughter to his condition. The stepmother's duty was to tell her about it and to invite her to the funeral, even if their relationship was non-existent or even bad. It would have been the right thing to do. I think it would be good for your fiancé to try to speak to her stepmother and find out what was at the bottom of this. Even if the only result is that she finds out that stepmother hates her guts, it would at least answer the question why. Comment 3. Get in touch with a lawyer. Also talk with a forensic accountant. Both immediately. There's a big reason nobody told you, and especially her. Her brother, her stepmom, nobody. Not one person stepped up. You and her need to act immediately. If you have not started already. Update, I, 27M, found out my fiancé's, 26F, dad died last month, no one told us. I contacted her brother. Did I do good? We finally found out where her dad was buried, and I managed to get in touch with her half-brother. When I showed her who I thought it was, she panicked and did not want anything to do with it. She still does not know I went ahead and talked to him. To be honest, I expected lies or deflection, but what I got was more frustrating. He was not defensive, just cryptic. He said he knows exactly why her side of the family cut her off and that she knows too. He would not tell me what it was and just kept saying I should ask her because I would not believe him anyway. Then he added, sarcastically, that if she is even capable of telling me the truth, I would already know. He did say he had tried calling and texting her after their dad passed, but she has him blocked on everything. He also said he tried to make sure she was included, but she made it clear a long time ago that she wanted nothing to do with him. He knows she has always hated him just for existing. He ended the conversation by saying he was calling her bluff. That she does not really want anything to do with her dad's side of the family. He even asked, did she ever say she was inviting any of them to the wedding? That part stung a little. I will not pretend to know the full story, but I am starting to feel like this is not a case of one person being awful. It feels more like years of silence and resentment that turned into something cruel. We did get some clarity on the legal side. There probably will not be a fight with the stepmom. The brother told me everything that is needed. We are working with a lawyer, but it will take time. The executor has up to 2 years before probate has to start. Even then, anything she may be entitled to would be split evenly with him, and only applies to accounts that were solely in her father's name. We are not expecting anything substantial, but she deserves to know she was not forgotten. Since real closure is out of reach, we are creating our own. Someone suggested planting a memorial tree. We loved that idea. We are currently looking for a good starter tree, and she is going to write her father a letter to bury under it. It is not a solution, but it is something real and peaceful she can hold on to. There probably will not be another update. I am realizing that trying to untangle her family's damage might only hurt our relationship. If I want a healthy marriage, I need to protect her peace more than I need to win a fight that was lost a long time ago. TLDR, found her dad's burial site. I talked to her half-brother. He says she was cut off for a reason she knows, and that she blocked him. We got a lawyer, but anything owed will be split. We're planting a tree with a letter for closure. No more digging. Comments started getting suspicious of the fiancé. Notable comments. Comment 1. Look, it's pretty telling that nobody told your fiancé about his death. She has aunts, uncles, cousins, right? Are they all blocked too, or is there actually a good reason why they didn't contact your fiancé? I suspect you won't have a peaceful marriage when she has been so secretive, and it's pretty obvious that the rest of the family is not on her side. Comment 2. It sounds like there is her story, their story, and the truth. I don't think you know the truth. I think your fiancé has been selective over what she has told you. That whole shutdown and panicking when you found the half-brother's profile tells me there is more to this than she told you. I would want the entire truth before you commit to marriage. Make sure you know who she is, and that there are no masks in place. If there is no will, then his wife is actually entitled to everything he owns. If there is a will, then she would only inherit what is specified. Unless she contests the will, his state of mind, can prove that he was manipulated, etc. Expensive, chances are she will lose. Why a memorial if she was cut off by her father, or if she cut her father off? OP's comments on the update are mostly along the same lines. Yeah, it sounds dramatic because it is. But from what I can tell, she was the one who went no contact, not them. The brother's words felt carefully chosen, almost like he wanted to stir things up without actually saying anything. That whole "she knows why" line just adds fuel without giving clarity. I get how it all looks, but right now my priority is supporting her while she grieves. When she's ready to talk, I'll be ready to listen. Final update. I've taken time to process everything before writing this, because I want it to be clear-headed and fair. This isn't just about a relationship ending, it's about recognizing how far I'd strayed from myself and what I allowed in the name of love, patience, and hope. After the engagement ended, she moved in with a friend from work. But by then, things had already been unraveling for a while. I had believed I was being supportive and compassionate, giving her time to grieve and space to share on her own terms. But the truth was, I was being emotionally manipulated. She pretended to want to reconcile with her brother after hearing about her father's death. At the time, it felt like a breakthrough. I thought she was softening, maybe healing. But that was just a performance to win sympathy and deflect hard questions. The more I learned, the clearer it became that she had no real interest in reconnecting, only in looking like the victim. What's hard to admit is how many times she manipulated me subtly, shaping narratives and using silence or emotional withdrawal to make me prioritize her even over lifelong friends and family. I now see how isolated I became. One friend I reconnected with after everything joked, "You didn't date her, you ran her PR campaign." It hit harder than I expected, because in some ways, it felt true. There were moments where I wasn't just supporting her, I was constantly explaining basic respect, empathy, and how to show up in a relationship. It started to feel less like a partnership and more like I was trying to teach someone how to be a decent person. That kind of emotional labor takes a toll, and looking back, I can see how much of myself I lost in the process. I had reached out to her brother initially to confront him, but his response was surprisingly calm and cryptic even. After the breakup, I spoke to him again, and this time he told me the truth. The family had cut her off because of repeated abusive outbursts not just toward her father, but also toward her stepmother and brother. He said I wouldn't have seen it because she saved that side of herself for them. He even brought her father's old phone. The texts between her and her dad were awful, cruel, manipulative, and downright abusive. Honestly, I don't even know how or why her dad stayed in contact with her after receiving the things she wrote. If my own child ever said those things to me, I would have cried and cut contact. No parent deserves that level of cruelty. After her father passed, she started lashing out at me too. That's when the pattern revealed itself. Ironically, she didn't even mind that I spoke to her brother until she found out I helped him with a scholarship site. And help is a stretch. I mentioned the Common App, something I always bring up when college comes up in conversation. It's not some special effort. I've told my own cousins the same thing. It's a single application site that makes you sound like you know your stuff and gets kids on track fast. If they apply through it, they're pretty much guaranteed to get into somewhere. She knew this. She had seen me do it with my family. But this time, she twisted it into a betrayal like I'd committed some criminal offense. She realized I had spoken to her brother because I showed her a Reddit post to help her understand where I was coming from. That's when everything shifted. Even then, I didn't end things immediately. I asked if we could slow down and delay the wedding. Instead of meeting me with honesty or reflection, she shut down and turned hostile. Maybe it was her way of pushing me away, but if so, it worked. After the breakup, she kept reaching out, apologizing, saying she'd get help. But I had already asked her to consider therapy earlier in our relationship, and she refused every time. Now that everything has come to light, I can't see myself marrying her, much less raising a child with someone who hides so much, lashes out when cornered, and only offers change when everything is already broken. My family has been nothing but supportive through all of this. My sister is even staying with me right now. She joked that it's for my protection, but honestly, it just feels good to have family around again. For the first time in a while, I feel like myself. So that's it. No more what-ifs or excuses. Just the truth, and a fresh start. There won't be any more updates as this account serves no purpose anymore. TLDR, I was engaged to someone who claimed to be unfairly estranged from her family, but after reaching out to her brother and seeing messages she sent her dad, I learned she was abusive toward them. When I suggested delaying the wedding, she became emotionally abusive toward me. After the breakup, she admitted to some things and promised to get help, but I no longer see a future with her. My family and friends have helped me move on, and I'm slowly reconnecting with who I was before all this. Stories number 45. My son's friend died 2 days ago. I don't think I can ever tell him. My 5-year-old son just finished preschool like a week ago, and on the last day he made sure to tell us to give out phone numbers to 3 kids that were his friends. One of these kids had a birthday coming up soon, and yesterday my wife got an email about it expecting something like they were gonna have vegan cake or something, but no, it turns out the little kid died in a terrible accident. Now my son and our family weren't exactly close, but we've met their family several times at school things, and after receiving the news me and my wife were shocked and incredibly sad to say the least. We spent the rest of the night trying to process it and asking ourselves if we should tell our son. We've explained the concept of death to him after one of our cats died, but I'm worried if we tell him about his friend it will mess up his little kid mind. I really have no idea what the right thing to do is. Me and my wife did agree that one of us are gonna go to the celebration of life that they're holding on his birthday, but for now we don't think we're ever gonna tell my son. This whole thing has seriously got us all fucked up though. Stories number 46. How do I get my 31F friend's fiancé, 40M, to stop critiquing what I eat? My best friend, 35F, is engaged to a guy, 40M, who I actually like overall. My friend and I no longer live close, so our main activity together is going out for lunch or dinner at the halfway point. Her fiancé has this habit that started as annoying but is now a step above that. I like to get a few different appetizers instead of a main course. He'll always say, "You're getting all that?" Or even tell the waiter, "I don't think we need all that," like I'm a child. It's weird and frustrating and I can't get it to stop. We always do separate tabs, so it's not as though it's a financial concern. It never breaks up the pace of the meal, I just get the appetizers served during the main course. I've tried playing it off in a light but clear way, I've tried politely addressing it. It goes right over their heads. I've asked my friend about it privately and she says, "Yeah, it's annoying, he does it to me too. But he's great overall," so I look past it. I obviously won't lose my relationship with one of my oldest and closest friends over this, but it is making me extremely uncomfortable. I already have poor body image and relationship to food. Any ideas what I can do? Thanks in advance. Stories number 47. Aita for sneaking out and causing my sister to lose her job. My sister is 33, female, and I'm 14, female. She had a baby 3 months ago. I just got out of school for the summer and really wanted to rest, but my sister decided she wants to finally get a job. Now she's making me babysit my niece. I have zero experience with babies, and I get overstimulated easily. It's been really hard for me. I asked her if she could put the baby in daycare or something, but she refused. I decided to just suck it up, but it's been exhausting. I have insomnia, and it's hard to sleep when I feel like I need to be awake 24/7 to watch the baby. I'm constantly scared something might happen if I fall asleep. I told my mom how I felt, but she said I'd just have to deal with it. Both my parents work, so I'm left alone with the baby for hours almost every day. A few days ago, I got tired of everything. The night before my sister got ready for work, I snuck out and went to my friend's house so I wouldn't have to deal with it and could finally get some sleep. When I came home that morning after I saw all the missed calls and messages, and my mom and sister were really mad at me. They said I was being selfish and lazy. My sister even quit her job because I told her I'd leave again if she kept making me babysit. I definitely felt bad after. It feels like my whole family is barely talking to me except for my dad, and even he said I shouldn't have done that. Also, I love my niece. This isn't hate to her, she's adorbs. A little edit for more info. I see my dad being brought up a bit, but he works in different places with steel work, so he's very rarely home, but we do call often. My niece's father doesn't want anything to do with her or my sister. It's been that way since she was pregnant anyway, so she left him and moved back in with us. She had a job before but quit to take care of the baby when she was a newborn, and up until now, of course. Also, her and my mom work at the same place, so they're both night shift jobs and they're tired when they come home from working, so I usually have to watch my niece a bit longer so they can rest when they get home, since they expect me to sleep while I'm babysitting, but I just can't. I'm so paranoid something could happen, even when I'm feeding the baby and she coughs even a little, or if she's sleeping too hard I panic. And honestly, I didn't even know daycare wasn't free until I read these comments. I thought maybe it was like public school. Sorry. Stories number 34. Coworker immediately came at me with, "Well, I already have that day off," when I said I had to drive my husband, who just had surgery, to an appointment, which was unnecessary. I was simply letting her and my other coworker know I'd be late coming in on Wednesday. We have a very laid-back office when it comes to needing time off for appointments. She can have her day off. She knows this. Yet she flipped out on me. Just a couple months ago, this same coworker texted me at home to let me know she'd be out the next couple days because her son broke his collarbone. I told her to take the time she needs. I was in the office by myself those 2 days because our other coworker was on vacation. I didn't mind one bit. Family is most important. My husband cannot drive right now because he has very limited mobility in his arm. Especially considering his appointment is a 30-mile drive. She immediately attacked me with, "Well, I have that day off. I've already gotten it approved." Damn. Chill. Taking my husband to an appointment does not affect your day off. There is a third person, and our boss will allow us to close the office a few hours if absolutely necessary. But that won't even need to happen. After I was very understanding when she was out for 2 days because of her son, and having to be in and out of work with his follow-up appointments the following weeks, I just felt that was uncalled for. She called off because her cousin is visiting. My husband broke his hand and had to have corrective surgery. It is what it is. He didn't choose this. She'll still get her day off. I wasn't trying to change that. I was simply communicating with my coworkers that I'd be late coming in. Sorry, my husband comes first. Just like her son when he needed her. How quickly she seemed to have forgotten all that. Stories number 48. Aita for telling my physically disabled landlady I won't be doing work on her property anymore. Updated about 8 months ago, I was in need of a place for myself, 32M, and my fiancé, 25M, to go, and one of my acquaintances, 51F, offered us a deal. She would pay the utilities in a house she owned, and in exchange I would do certain chores for her around the property to get it ready for Saul. She's physically disabled, hip and ankle replacement, so she can't do a lot of manual labor for herself. The total cost to her in utilities monthly is slightly under $350, and she basically got me as a free contractor. We agreed that this arrangement would last for 1 year, at which time my fiancé and myself would be financially stable enough to get our own place. The issue started about a month after I moved in. To make it short, she has a habit of asking for a small favor that turns into a large task that turns into a day's worth of work, or more, and has no respect for people's work or school schedule. I work anywhere from 40 to 60 hours a week, and my fiancé is pursuing a bachelor's at an accelerated pace, so we're always busy. We originally agreed to about 10 hours of labor a week, and that escalated to pretty much any time I'm not physically at my actual job. Now what she does is come up with convoluted multi-day projects. Right now she wants a chicken coop built, and whenever she thinks I'm off work, she starts calling and texting to make sure that as soon as I'm in the driveway, I'm working on tasks for her. She also gets angry when I have other obligations to take care of in my time off. She's hinted several times that she would probably evict me and my fiancé if we didn't keep up with her task list, and we won't have enough savings for another 4 to 6 weeks to step out into our own place. She knows this, and always makes these comments when she knows we've had an emergency that affects our savings, buying new tires for our vehicle, missing work for a funeral, etc. Today, I was working on her chicken coop. Despite being sick, she doesn't care and has been angry all day. I didn't do it yesterday evening when I got off work, and I overheard her telling one of her friends that she thinks my fiancé and I are losers because we don't have our own place and we are too lazy to do the work they need to do to keep the one I'm giving them. I immediately stopped work and told her that we're such losers she can find someone else to do the work for her. My fiancé thinks I've opened the door to retaliation and I need to apologize to keep the peace. I told him that she's talked down and treated us like garbage long enough that I can't deal with it anymore, but he thinks we should just tough it out for another few weeks. Aita for going off on her and making it possible that we get evicted. Update, a couple of hours ago, the lady that my landlady was badmouthing me to called me, and told me that I'm not the first person my landlady has done this to. Over the last 15 years, according to this lady, my landlady has screwed over 4 or 5 families, targeting down on their luck blue-collar men who are willing to trade work for rent that she normally meets through her church. She offers them a place to stay in exchange for them remodeling or repairing a house she owns, gets as much as she can out of them, and then starts harassing them to avoid fully delivering on her end. One of these people was this woman's son, which caused a rift between the son and his mother because she didn't know who to believe. In my case, she didn't want to wait the full year before she made her profit from the sale. Another guy got run off because she promised him 6 months in exchange for roofing work and she wanted to rent the property out for cash as soon as he got done. I've been put into contact with a couple of these past tenants, and 2 of them have told me they'll show up in court on my behalf if she tries anything shady like an eviction. I plan on not saying anything, but if she tries to take me to court I intend to countersue and I've got people willing to back me up. Stories number 49. First world problems. So my husband and I come from a third world country. Back there, none of us were doing too bad, but still as a third world country we lack services like water and electricity. Sometimes not even money would help with food because there wasn't any food to buy, and our home country was especially very dangerous. We moved to the US and the first years were hard, mostly because we needed to get our paperwork in check. Q to now, I am a US citizen now and he's waiting to become one next year. We have great jobs, a roof over our heads. We never have to worry if we are going to be able to shower, flush the toilet or drink water because water doesn't run out. Electricity doesn't go out. We are out and about on the streets until late at night and we feel safe. There's food in our fridge, money does have value, and we plan ahead because we can do so. The other day I came home from work and hubby was sad. Like, genuinely sad. When I wondered what happened he told me that he just felt like he lacked a purpose and that he wanted to buy a $6,000 watch but of course we didn't have money for that. Then we went on a tangent about how I understand because I also want to buy a pair of shoes that are $5.95. And then I realized wow. This is life for us now. This is our life and we get to be sad because of the most stupid, materialistic, not even useful things. 5 years ago I couldn't poo when I needed to because we didn't have water to flush the toilet in my 5-people household. Now, there are days when I get angry because the pool in my apartment building is a little cold for my liking. 8 years ago I spent a month in the dark when the whole country suddenly had a blackout. Now I get upset when my central air conditioner is not cool enough during the summer heat. I have been sad for a couple of days because I am just so bored. But today I was reminded that I'm bored because I don't live in constant chaos anymore. I'm bored because now I have first world problems, which to old me would have been a blessing to have. Anyways, I just wanted to rant a little because I feel like my third eye just opened. What a blessing to be alive, honestly. Stories number 50. My last boss fired her husband in front of everyone, had security escort him out, and he was back the next day like nothing happened. I used to work at a small startup run by a married couple, wife was the CEO and founder, husband handled the finances, who I could tell was crazy from the jump. But while money was coming in, the crazy was easy to ignore. Once sales dried up it turned extreme. Screaming at employees, each other, and even clients became a daily occurrence. On a Thursday meeting with the whole company, she began yelling at me. I corrected her, she was wrong, her husband chimed in that I was correct, and they began arguing in front of everyone, which wasn't unusual at this point. They go into a separate room and we hear them raising hell. Few minutes later she storms into her office, slams the door, and soon the building security guards walk in. They tell him to grab all of his things, so he does, and they quietly escort him out of the building. Once they left she tried to do a "everything is fine" morale-raising meeting where she patted herself on the back for showing us an example of good leadership because tough decisions have to be made in business, and he was talking back. Friday morning I walk into the office and he's back at his desk like nothing happened. That weekend I was with extended family and on paper having a great time, but the dark cloud of Monday morning was weighing over me. That Sunday my wife and I agreed this would be my last week. I'd make it to Friday, one more paycheck. Monday morning rolls around. We have our standing 9 a.m. meeting. I'm immediately getting chewed out and forced to defend myself from a barrage of insults and accusations. Soon as the meeting ended, I turned to my coworkers and said, "Sorry guys, today is the day." I grab my stuff, quietly walk out, and sent an email in saying I quit. I didn't have interviews lined up or any leads on another job. Just blind faith that whatever happened next would be way better than subjecting myself to this. That was about a year ago. I've since found a great job and have a happy, healthy kid, so life is great. But if anyone wants to talk about job trauma I've got some for days. Stories number 51. Doesn't add up. Make it add up. Well, okay then. This happened many, many years ago when I was a systems administrator for a now defunct company. I was to go to training and I ended up going to Canada to train on some then new systems. No biggie. I kept my receipts and ended up overspending a bit because, well, I got to see the sights and got to have some tasty food. When I got back, I submitted my expense report. I wrote down the numbers and factored in the current exchange rate, Canadian dollars to US dollars, and figured that was that. I mean, being honest, right? Well, OMG, my boss's boss went to my boss and complained that I couldn't even add anything up. You see, the amount I was showing they owed me was less than what the receipts showed. Canadian dollars were maybe worth 65 cents of American dollars. So, it got rejected and my boss's boss said make the match. I looked at my boss and said, you know, that's Canadian, right? My boss just shrugged and said, make him happy and make the numbers add up. Well, okay then. I added the Canadian dollars up and didn't factor in the exchange rate. So, instead of requesting a reimbursement of, for example not the actual numbers, $650, I put down $1,000, CAD. They cheerily paid it, only me and my boss knew, but it was so much more trouble trying to do the right thing. No one ever tried to correct it. On the plus side, it pretty much paid for the extras on the trip. Stories number 52. Shopper demanded my employee discount. So, I was at Target last weekend, wearing a red hoodie and khakis. Yes, I know, rookie mistake. I was just browsing the electronics section when a woman marched up and said, finally. Do you people not know how to greet customers anymore? I looked up, confused, and said, oh, sorry, I don't work here. She narrowed her eyes. You're wearing red and khakis. Don't lie to me. I need help finding a charging cable for my son's iPad. Again, I politely told her I was not an employee, just shopping. She went off. You young people have no work ethic. If you're too lazy to help customers, you shouldn't work retail. I laughed a little and walked away, thinking it was over. 10 minutes later, I was in line to check out, and this woman appeared behind me, with a cart full of stuff. She tapped me on the shoulder and said, "If you're not going to help me, the least you can do is use your employee discount." I blinked and replied, "Ma'am, I don't work here. I'm literally buying toilet paper and Cheetos." She rolled her eyes and muttered, "So selfish." The cashier heard the whole thing and just shook his head. "You wouldn't believe how often this happens," he said. I walked out with my snacks and zero discount. Meanwhile, she was still arguing with the cashier about what kind of training they do here. Retail workers, you have my full respect. I wore the wrong outfit for 1 hour and nearly lost my mind. Stories number 53. Aita for not attending my own surprise party because I overheard my sister making it about her. Okay, so, long-time lurker, first-time poster. I'm still trying to wrap my head around whether I was dramatic or just finally hit my limit. I, 27F, had a rough year, burnout from work, went through a breakup, moved apartments, lost a grandparent, all within a few months. My birthday rolled around last week and I told my family I really didn't want to do anything big. Just a chill dinner or even nothing. I just wanted quiet. Well, apparently my sister, 30F, didn't like that idea. She and my mom decided to throw me a surprise party. It was sweet in theory, but here's the twist. I came home a bit earlier than they expected and overheard my sister in the kitchen talking to one of my cousins. She literally said, "Yeah, my name has been super boring lately. This party's more for the family to loosen her up." Honestly, I think she's being kind of selfish with this whole "I want peace" thing. I just froze. I stood there listening for a second too long. Then I turned around, got in my car, and left. I didn't say anything. I didn't go back. I ended up spending the night at my friend's place. I texted my mom later to say I was okay but needed space. Since then, my family has been blowing up my phone saying I embarrassed them, wasted money, and made a scene by ghosting my own party. My sister, of course, says she didn't mean it like that. Now I'm wondering Aita for bailing on a surprise party that wasn't really for me anyway. Stories number 54. I used to switch out my coworker's USB mouse with a broken one every Friday before I quit. I know this is petty and dumb, but IDC. There was this guy at my old job who treated everyone like shit, especially the women. Like he'd joke about us being emotional or say stuff like, "Must be that time of the month," whenever we disagreed with him. I reported it once and literally nothing happened. So every Friday, before leaving, I'd unplug his working USB mouse and swap it with a broken one I found in the supply closet. Every Monday he'd come in losing it, calling IT, yelling at PPL like, "WTF is wrong with this office?" I never told anyone, did it for like 2 months until I quit. Not proud exactly, but also, it made me feel a little less helpless. Stories number 55. Stick to your job description, alright, enjoy the chaos. I, 18F, work as a receptionist at a small office. We're a tight team, so I usually help with little things outside my role, stocking coffee, prepping meeting rooms, answering overflow calls from the back office. Last week, we got a new office manager. First day, she told me, "From now on, stick strictly to your job description. No more doing other people's work." She said it in that passive-aggressive way that basically meant, stay in your lane. I said, "Okay, got it." So I stopped doing everything outside my job description. Didn't refill the coffee when it ran out. Didn't set up the boardroom for a big client meeting. Didn't transfer calls that came in after hours. Didn't remind the guy in accounting about his 2 p.m. Zoom, which I always used to. It was absolute chaos by the end of the day. The manager pulled me aside and asked why I let everything fall apart. I smiled and said, "I'm just sticking to my job description. Like you said, she's been a lot quieter since. And I'm still just doing my job." Stories number 56. My best friend keeps introducing me as her fat friend, so I introduced her as my racist roommate. I, 26F, live with my best friend from college, Lexi, 27F. We've been roommates for almost 3 years and honestly, it's been mostly great, until recently. Lexi has always been the hot one. Tall, thin, perfectly styled. I'm plus size, and while I've grown to love myself, I'm not blind to how society treats us differently. She used to hype me up. Lately, she's been weaponing it. At a party a few weeks ago, she introduced me to her coworker as her fat friend with the big personality. I laughed it off, but I felt it like a slap. A few days later, it was my roomie who's always eating pasta. Then last week, I met her boyfriend's friends and she said, "This is Mia, she's my ride or die, plus she'll never steal your man," with a wink. I confronted her privately, and she said, "Relax, you're so sensitive. I'm just breaking the ice for people." So at a dinner party last weekend, I finally snapped. Someone asked how we knew each other, and I said, we were in the same dorm, but I didn't really get to know Lexi until she stopped referring to black people as urban. She has said this multiple times. It got real quiet. She dragged me into the kitchen and screamed at me. I calmly said, "I won't be your punchline anymore. If you can't hype me up without putting me down, I'm out." She hasn't spoken to me since. Hot take. If you can't handle being treated how you treat others, maybe don't hide cruelty in jokes. Stories number 57. Changing the definition of overtime. Great, the company I used to work for changed their definition of overtime to be any hours worked over 40 per week to avoid paying overtime to people who stayed later on any given day, and tried to encourage them to take that time in lieu. I.e., if you worked 10 hours on Monday, you were encouraged to work 6 hours on Tuesday, instead of claiming 2 hours of overtime pay. Here overtime pays at 1.5x your normal hourly rate, even if you're salaried. When they changed these rules they forgot about my team. 99% of the company worked regular September 5th Monday-Friday shifts, but my team worked a 24/7 rotating shift. Just by the nature of working shifts like that, sometimes you end up working up to 55 hours in a single calendar week by doing normal 8-hour shifts with no overtime. This was fine because it meant the next week you worked 25 hours or so. It always averaged out to be 80 hours a fortnight. But by the wording of this new rule, which was written into our contracts by the union so they couldn't go back on it, we were suddenly entitled to loads of overtime. It added up to about $6,000 per year in extra pay from doing the exact same hours as before. Stories number 58. Men feel so entitled to date you. I just ended things with a man I met on a dating app. We had been seeing each other for maybe 6 weeks. It was fun, but the more I got to know him, the more I just wasn't interested in dating him anymore. There were a few small red flags, but mostly he was just a little boring and I didn't find the memes he showed me funny. I told him I didn't think we should continue seeing each other over text. Again, known each other for only 6 weeks, not that serious, and he asked to meet up to discuss what we both are looking for in a relationship. I'm simply not looking for a relationship with you, my guy. That's how dating works. Do you want me to list all of your faults? Because I can, but that won't help anyone, and also I don't want to tell you what to lie about to better catch the next girl that gives you a chance. Stories number 59. You can't park here. Okay, so some background. I am a delivery driver working for one of the big delivery companies in the US. Today's delivery route includes a very high-end neighborhood with very narrow streets that have cars parked on both sides. So even more narrow for my big delivery truck. My next package is a big one, definitely a desk or flat pack furniture weighing at least 80 pounds. I stop at the address and park my vehicle basically in the middle of the street. But I will be quick and I have my flashers on, so no problem. From the delivery address a little old lady with the anger of Satan comes flying out yelling, "You can't park here." I say back, "Okay, well, where can I park to deliver this?" She says, "The nearest parking for non-residents is at the tennis court a half-mile away," lugging a 80 pounds desk a half-mile when I'm already stupid far behind and it's 110F outside, no thanks. Wait a minute, reads label on package, "Are you Karen?" She responds, "Well yeah, but what does that have to do with you parking here?" Malicious compliance. Pulls emergency brake, slams vehicle in drive, seatbelt still on, "I am not in park, so not parked," wiggles heavy big package out the window while holding down the brake. Placing it standing up at her feet, scanned as left with resident. I yell as I drive off, "Package delivered safely, have a nice day." I think I hear her say, "Wait, you can't just." As I drive off I look into my side view to see a very confused old lady looking at her desk, then looking at my delivery truck barely fitting down her street. Yes, there were better ways of handling this, but all would require me to walk a half-mile in the heat either to leave a notice or carry a desk. Either way I simply didn't have time for that. Not the best story on here, but it made me feel good in the moment and I felt like I had to tell someone. Stories number 60. Entitled friend is insistent I give him something I spent money and time on. This happened when I first started getting into blacksmithing. I was showing my achievements to my friends when my entitled friend, EF, decides to ask me a question. EF, "Whoa, I saw a golden looking knife on there. You think you could make one of those for me?" He's referring to an aluminium bronze knife I made. It wasn't the best scene as I did not mix the aluminum and the copper at the right percentage. Me, "If you're willing to pay for it, yeah." EF, "Why? I'm your mate, not a customer." Me, "Dude, this stuff costs me time and effort, and most of all money. I can't just go around making stuff for people." EF, "Well, how much would you charge?" Me, probably like 10 to 15 quid, not much as it is a small knife. EF, that's way too overpriced for that little thing, I could make that on my own. Me, well do that then. EF, I don't have the equipment to do it. Me, well that's too bad then. He was in a sulk and had the nerve to ask, so I'm not getting the knife then, later, but that's pretty much the end of the story. Sorry, it's not some crazy story of a crazy lady. This happened ages ago and I've thrown out a lot of my old stuff, including that knife. I don't smith much anymore because I just don't have the time for it, and also I'm pretty sure I deleted the photos. But anyways, that's my story for today.